Good morning. Welcome to the Technical Review Committee meeting for Walton County. Today is May 6, 2026. Our first item, just a couple announcements up front. We do have a long agenda. I think we're going to hear 14 or 15 items. So we will be utilizing our 3-minute public comment timer here. Just for the sake of everybody's time. I think that's it. Brooke, you got anything else? Karen, you got any announcements? All right, thank you. First item is request to approve April 1, 2026 to April 15, 2026 TRC meeting minutes. Have you all had a chance to review these? Any questions, comments, concerns? All right, let's go ahead and split that up. Can I have a motion for the April 1st, 2026 meeting minutes, please? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and for the April 15th TRC meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Karen, I'll go ahead and sign those after the meeting for you. Next is item number 2, and I'm not going to say that properly. It looks like it's Esnule Abandonment. We have a request to table this application. Anything from the applicant on this one prior to a vote? All right, thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns from the committee? All right, can I have a motion, please? Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. This item will be tabled. It will be brought back for technical review after, excuse me, we're not done here.
Public
Just,
speak?
will you give me a second,
Sure.
please? Thank you. This item will be heard at the next available meeting once the applicant has demonstrated proper notice and is ready to move forward. Now, sir, please, what are your comments?
Okay, 3 minutes. Right now, your committee is kind of wrecking my neighborhood. There's so much construction and there's garbage everywhere. I know that's code violations. It's more than about the money. This process is adversarial. Why did you drag me down here when you tabled this? This is garbage. You waste my time. And here's the thing. The issue is you're stealing from the people. You're robbing from parks. You're robbing from public access. You're not providing the services. And this is builder services. This is helping builders. It's not helping the people. And here's the thing. You all are on a track record following the state of Florida and Jeffrey Epstein. This is the role model you set here, period. It sucks. That's all I got. You got a comment?
No, sir, have a good day. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye now. All right, item number 2 is a request, actually, let's see here. We've got item number 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That is Silver Place, Sunrise Coffee, 66 Cross Creek Road, Bay Breeze Outdoor Kitchen, and 64 Topsail Village Drive. All of these items have a request to continue to May 20th, 2026. We'll go ahead and take a single motion to move these items to that date. If I could have one, please.
Motion to continue.
Second? Yeah, is that on? There we go. All right, and that was the second by Wyatt. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you. Those items will be heard on May 20th of this year. Let's see here. That brings us to, I believe, item number 8, Lot 1, South Walton Commerce Park, Phase 2.
Good morning.
Morning, Tim.
This is a minor developmental application submitted by Jenkins Engineering requesting approval to develop a 9,996 square foot warehouse and associated infrastructure on 1 acre with the future land use and zoning of Bay Walton Sector Plan Village Center. Property is located in District 5 on the north side of Serenoa Road. So planning has some minor comments. Public Works has some engineering comments and some traffic comments as well. We have not gotten anything from South Walton Fire yet, and we have not received any comments from Environmental yet, or Eglin Air Force Base. So with that, I'd like to enter the staff report into the record, please.
So entered.
And I'll answer any questions you may have, or I'll turn it over to the applicant. These properties in the Commerce Park are pretty straightforward, and Phase 2 is just about built out at this point.
Why don't you speak a little bit to the history, just for the sake of the audience here? This is a previously approved industrial or commerce park?
Yes,
The development on an existing lot within said park?
correct.
there-
The first phase is actually zoned Commerce Park. The second and third phase is part of the sector plan. So there's, I think, 20, I don't have it in my staff report, but do you know how many lots are in Phase 2? It's 20, I think. And they're in the process of putting in the infrastructure to plat Phase 3. Don't have it in here, it looks like, but I think there's 21, yeah, here it is. South Walton Commerce Park Phase 2 was platted on October 31st, 2022. There's 21 lots. Each lot is limited to 10,000 square feet of development. So what you said is correct. It's an existing platted commercial subdivision, and this is one of the remaining lots in there to be developed.
Are there any special development standards or concessions that were granted at the time of original approval?
Yes, they have reduced setbacks, and they also have reduced landscaping requirements. The only real requirement is 1 tree per 25 linear feet, and the interior vehicular use area landscaping. That's the only requirement.
Okay. It looks like we've got right-of-way comments, engineering comments, traffic comments, and planning comments.
There's
have we
actually no
received-
right-of-way comments, but the others, yes. We have,
Okay,
we
so,
have traffic, we have engineering, we have planning.
okay, so traffic has not been addressed, right-of-way comments have been. So we've got,
And Wyatt, you do the review, right?
Yes, sir.
yeah, I'm looking at the, have we received a resubmittal on this one?
No.
Because we're waiting on environmental and fire, I'm assuming. And Eglin. Is this underneath any Eglin overlay?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't think any parts of the Commerce Park fall under any of the Eglin overlays. But it is kind of unusual. Normally, we get a comment from Eglin pretty quickly, but so far I've gotten nothing from them.
Yeah, I know they're pretty backed up after their, I think funding issues.
Shut down.
I'm seeing, and maybe this is a question for you, Wyatt, under traffic comments, provide verification of LOS for impacted segments. Comment number 1.
They're going to be looking at Highway 98 where they come out.
So were trips vested with the original approval of the development?
Good question.
So you're just asking for some additional information as it relates to that? Okay. Maybe the applicant can address some of that.
I
All right.
don't think so, because initially, these lots were subject to the mobility fee, and some of them paid the mobility fee before it went away.
Okay.
So now it's not applicable, but some of the earlier lots that were approved, 2 or 3, maybe more, did pay the mobility fee.
Okay. So the trips weren't vested with the original plating?
Correct.
Each development that comes in has to address that individually. Got it. Any other questions for staff? All right, thanks, Tim.
Good morning. I'm Scott Jenkins with Jenkins Engineering. Yes, we have received the comments for this. We're addressing them. We were waiting to receive all the comments from all the review members before we did our final resubmittal, hopefully final resubmittal. Yes, and trips were not vested with the original plat. We do have to address it as we go through this lot by lot. We're working on the level of service information now, though, and we'll resubmit that Wyatt for his review. I think the only people that we're really missing that would maybe impact us is environmental. With this being a previously approved and constructed industrial park, I really don't see that there's a whole lot of issue there. We've done a lot of projects in that commercial park and never had any issues with that. So we would just ask that we move forward conditionally, just assuming that we can address all comments.
Sure. There's no environmentally sensitive or encumbered lands on the subject site? I'm not seeing any wetlands or anything outlined. Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Nope. Any questions for us?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
This is a minor development. We'll go ahead and open this up to anyone in the public who has technical questions, comments, or concerns. Okay, seeing none. Tim, what's your recommended motion here?
As long as Wyatt's okay with it, I mean, most of the comments are relatively minor, and I agree with Scott. I don't think environmental or fire will have any substantial comments. So my recommendation would be to move it forward to the director to issue the development order once all outstanding comments have been resolved.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Wyatt, the bulk of these comments are engineering related. It does appear that most of these are relatively just clarification, but if you have any concerns with conditional approval, speak now.
Concerns?
Okay. Anyone else? Concerns, questions, comments? No? All right. Well, we have a recommended motion. If I could have that motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Lot 1, South Walton Commerce Park Phase 2 will be conditionally, or is hereby conditionally approved to move forward to approval of the DO pending successful address of all outstanding comments, including ones we have not received yet. That brings us to item number 9, Grand Point West Phase 2.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is a minor development order application submitted by Jenkins Engineering on behalf of Yauza LLC. The applicant is requesting approval of a development order amendment to modify existing development order number 15-013-00047. The proposed changes include reconfiguration of 4 existing single-family lots, modifications to associated infrastructure, and the addition of 3 new single-family lots on a newly acquired parcel. Upon completion, the development will consist of a total of 27 single-family lots on approximately 4.22 plus or minus acres. The subject property has a future land use designation of residential and is zoned neighborhood infill. It is located within District 5 at 85 Hollyleaf Lane and is identified by parcel ID number 363S18000-000-105A, and also the other ones end in 105B, 105C, 105E, and 1060. May I enter this in staff report into the record?
So entered.
So there are, as of the time of this report, there were environmental and school board pending reviews. And I do want to note that this is part of the Inlet Beach Neighborhood Plan, which is a good segue into one of the comments I just want to make sure that we're all aware of, that in my mind may or may not be a minor comment, which is per the Inlet Beach Neighborhood Plan Section 222B, the following shall apply to neighborhood infill districts. All parking is encouraged to be at the side or rear of the building where parking in the front cannot be avoided. Driveways are required to provide a minimum of 20 foot in length. And really the one that I want to get to is the number 3, which is new residential projects with buildings over 2 stories in height shall be set back 50 feet from residential preservation zones that contain more than 75% of 1 or 2 story dwellings. In which one of the proposals here is to maximize that structural height, which what the proposed building height is a 50-foot max, which is what's the allowed per the land development code. And this lot is adjacent to
RP.
yeah, correct, residential preservation.
Looks like there's on the northwest side, looks like 3 lots abut a residential preservation. At least the way that I'm interpreting this site plan is that the sort of green highlighting or whatever is what's being proposed currently.
No, it's the opposite. So the area that's hatched in grayish green is what's already been previously approved.
Okay,
The areas that are not highlighted are the areas that are being proposed through this development order.
I see. So 1, 2, 3 lots will be impacted by that standard.
Correct.
So was this portion of the site previously approved and now they're just amending that previous approval? Or are they adding density? What? Tell me a little bit about what's going on there.
Yeah, so this area that's not highlighted, that's part of this development order, was recently acquired. It's a new parcel, which previously, just to give you some dates here, so the original deal was approved in March 1st of 2016, which comprised of everything that you see in gray, as previously mentioned. So the areas in white were parcels that weren't acquired up until, and I don't have the date of when those were acquired, but fairly recent. And so the big picture here is to have this whole entire area be a part of one subdivision, which is the purpose of this minor DL.
Sure. So based on that standard, if the applicant indicated that the development on lots 6, 7, and 10 would not exceed 2 stories in height, then this standard would not be applicable.
Correct.
Has there been any indication by the applicant that that is the case here? Or are they proposing, I see that the max 50 is in the data table. So we need some additional detail there and as it relates to height, structure height, or story count on those subject lots.
Correct.
Okay. We'll let the applicant speak to that in a moment. Anything else you'd like to get on the record here?
No, I mean, there's some minor, I would say, comments from all the other reviews, engineering. There's some stormwater comments as it relates to drainage. And then from a traffic standpoint, it appears to check out.
Okay. And currently, we are missing, you said, environmental and school board comments?
That's correct.
Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns for staff? No? All right. Thank you, Jesus.
Good morning, Scott Jenkins with Jenkins Engineering again. I think Jesus did a good job of explaining the project. This is an old one that we actually started around 2005. Went through the whole process with back then everything was a major and infill, so it went through the BCC and got approved for all those things. Subsequently went back and did a couple of DO amendments. One was to address parking because there were some changes in the code around 2015, I think, where they had to update their parking counts so they didn't have issues on what they had approved previously. And now this, in the previous development, there was a piece of property that was kind of right in the middle of the site that these guys did not own. And part of the approval of the old project was to provide access to that and some utility connections and things like that. Over time, they have been able to acquire that piece that was left out of the middle, and so they've decided to bring that into this previously approved development to just kind of complete the block, so there's not an outlier parcel there. We do understand that provision in the Beach Land Development Code, and that may limit the height of the structures that are along there. We do need to go out to the site actually and do a count of the houses next to it, because I don't know what the percentages are of the structures over there. So we'll go do some evaluation of that, and then get back with Jesus and talk to him about the best way to address it. But I think it's something that can be addressed. All the other comments were very minor. I think, we were able to address pretty easily and don't see any issues with anything. So we asked to move forward and work with staff to address comments.
Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns for the applicant? No? Your comments, anything in terms, engineering comments, anything that seems paramount here that can't be addressed without some substantial redesign or anything?
No showstoppers.
Okay, very good. Again, this is a minor development order application, and we'll go ahead and open it up. Anyone in the audience with technical questions, comments, or concerns, please come up. Okay, seeing none. What is your recommended motion, Jesus?
Excuse me, at this time, I would like to gather more information before I can feel okay about moving forward as it relates to the standards within the Inlet Beach neighborhood plan.
Okay. Okay, and we are missing a couple of reviews. So are you recommending that we continue this to the next TRC, or what are you thinking?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Scott, would that provide sufficient time for you guys to do your analysis on the height of the other neighborhood abutting?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Then we'll go ahead and entertain a motion to hear this again at the next TRC. That is the 20th.
Motion to continue.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. We will hear this again on the 20th. Hopefully that'll give everybody time to figure out the height situation and for our environmental planner to provide comments for you to address. All right? All right, thank you. Next item is number 10, Sawmill Phase 2.
Morning.
Good morning.
This is Sawmill Phase 2, request to approve by development order, project number MIN 26-00020, being reviewed by myself, Bridget Clements. This is a minor development order application submitted by Jenkins Engineering on behalf of Sawmill Subdivision LLC, requesting to develop 19 single-family residential parcels associated with infrastructure on 20.29 acres with a future land use of rural residential and a zoning category of rural village. The property is located in District 2 and is located on the parcel IDs in the staff report. What I have for this one, I have comments from engineering, environmental, North Walton Fire, GIS, and planning still remaining. The biggest concern I see is access to the 3 larger lots. to the west, where there's multiple comments from multiple reviewers just asking what that is. It's, if you're looking at the site plan, it's all the way to the west. There's 3 very large lots compared to the other ones. And the access is, it's not labeled or anything, so. The original vision for this, when I did research on this, was there was going to be multifamily here, and then they changed it to meet density. So that road, which is Sioux Lane, the original idea was it was gonna loop around. And they've changed it, and they meet density, so that's great. But the biggest question is just how are they gonna access those 3 lots, on top of, you know, just the other comments, which aren't nearly as major. Could I please enter the staff report into the record? And do you have any questions for me?
So entered. Any questions, comments, concerns for staff? So I guess I am picking up that it looks like I'm not seeing any sort of extension of the roadway or anything in the plan. So we'll have to ask the applicant here what the intention is. I mean, it looks like both of those roadways could be extended. I've only seen one 50-foot access easement in the middle lot there.
Yeah, so adjacent to 183, between lots 2 and 3, on the west side, there is just like an open, I don't know if that's an easement, it's not labeled, so I'm not 100% sure. And I think within the comments, a few reviewers asked for more information on that to see if that could be an access. Because that is how they are proposing to access it. I just don't know any information on it.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Last one, promise. This is Scott Jenkins with Jenkins Engineering again. And again, this is a really old project. I think Bridget did a good job of going through some of the history, but this was intended to be done in 2 phases back in the early 2000s. They did phase 1, and they were working with the county to do some density bonus things up in that area that were going to be changed in the comp plan at some point, but it never got done. So basically, they ended up not using all their allowable density for the rural village acreage that they had in the first phase. They did lay out the lots within some of that area. So we're just kind of infilling those, and they're attaching to existing infrastructure there on the, I'll call them smaller lots, even though they're much bigger than the ones that were out there in the previous development. And then the 3 additional lots are just the set aside for the remaining property they own. They're all about 4 acres in size. There is an existing access, dirt road access that comes off of County Road 183 that goes to those properties. If you look on the tax maps and things, it's a continuation of the right-of-way of that county roadway. But we will verify with Scott Rosenheim, the county surveyor, that that's the case. So we'll get him to verify that's the case. But that is the intent, is to utilize that existing access directly off of 183 to access those 3 lots.
And that right-of-way abuts the western portion of the site?
Yes, it's the 3 big lots. It runs right into the middle of the middle one, basically. And so that's why we have the additional easements along the front for access to the other 2.
Okay, I see. And then there's a little piece of right-of-way between lots, it looks like 2 and 3, that are outside of this development, or is that part of the first phase?
Not sure which one.
South of lot 109, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's part of the first phase, yeah.
But that portion in between lots 2 and 3, that's a right-of-way? That's a dedicated easement or something in there that will,
That goes down to 183?
yeah,
We're going to verify that with Mr. Rosenheim, but
Okay.
yeah, it looks like it is to me, yes.
okay. And then, do you know what the distance is between those 2? Or is it gonna be improved, or is that something set aside for a later date, or?
They were just going to utilize it as a dirt road the way it is currently, unless the county wants to see it differently. I know the county allows dirt road access to things in the north end if you have less than 20 lots that access off of it, so they were just going to use the existing.
So it would really just be used to access those 3 lots only?
Correct.
I see, okay. Fair enough. Any other questions, comments, concerns for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone in the public wishing to make any technical comments, questions, concerns? Come on up, sir. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Michael Fulton. I am one of the residents in Sawmill Court.
Will you spell your name for the record, please?
Fulton.
Thank you.
First name Michael. My real question is,
Will you
so
address the
much-
committee, please?
well, I'm hard of hearing, so I want to make sure.
I just want to make sure
Okay.
that you address the committee, so
Okay,
you're on the
perfect.
mic and everything's in the
So
record.
my concern is utilities, right? So we are all on Argyle Water there. Each home, there's quite a few residents who have the same concern. 25 PSI is the water we get on our houses. Argyle Water has no support to get there. Plumbers have come out. They can't touch the meter because they're private. That is a different company. I just want to ensure that when this is addressed, the public utilities are going to be addressed as well. The roads you guys are talking about going in and out, there's plenty of access. And those back 3 lots, that's 12 acres, those are going to be single-family homes, or is that going to be like apartments or?
It sounded
Okay.
based on, yeah, it sounded like single family,
Sorry.
yeah.
Okay, because that is really everybody's biggest concern about there is utilities, because they're already terrible. I've got quotes to have a well put in. I don't know if there's gonna be a pump station put in to support the water pressure for the new 19 additional homes. But I live on Grayson Lane, and I can tell you from the corner house to the end of there, the whole run, there's not one person who gets better than 25 PSI. And so that affects your showers, your toilet flushing, and even the regular appliances. You're gonna try to build new homes in there and put in new stuff. It's not gonna work. That is my only concern. Chelco Power, I've talked with them as well. They are more than able to support the area. They're doing some line trimming and clearing. I'm just concerned about the water.
Understood.
That's really it. Another resident was concerned about the gopher tortoises, but I understand how that works and moves. I come from Central Florida. We had to have one move when we built down there, but that was really it.
Okay.
So,
Thank you,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, Scott, can you approach that comment, that concern? Thank you.
Yeah, we are working with Argyle Water right now. You know, the water lines and things are in that area already, but we will be adding some additional services and things to that will be utilized for this. But we're working with Argyle Water, and we'll check the pressures on that. If they're not adequate, then it may be an issue with fire flow or something else like that. Then we may have to put a booster system in somewhere along that line, but we'll deal with Argyle Water to resolve that.
Okay, fair enough.
That's completely no right here.
It sounded like, and just for the sake of the record, it sounded like there was a couple folks in the audience that couldn't hear the comments from the applicant. Mr. Scott Jenkins indicated that he would be working with Argyle Water to ensure that there is available capacity and to address any potential concerns as it relates to pressure, and it may result in some sort of booster system, if I'm not mistaken, being provided to the site. So, thank you. All right, anything else from the committee? No? Bridget, what is your recommended motion here?
The recommended motion is to continue to the next TRC so we could figure out what that access is. And then address other comments as well. And there was, other comments about the fire comments that I've been emailing back and forth, that also need to be resolved, but my recommendation is to continue.
Okay, thank you. What are fire concerns? Does it have to do with line pressure as well, or? I'm looking for them in the.
It's on page 5. It says, I'm currently only seeing the outline for phase 2, but no additional details such as hydrant locations, road layouts, or lot markings beyond what is completed in phase 1. So, I'm not sure if they have, I haven't received an email back, but I reached out a couple times. But I just want to put that on the record because the applicant has asked for more information on that, and I just don't have it.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Scott, you want to approach that comment at all? You have anything to add to that? the fire comment?
No, we're just waiting to get the final comment. That's it. We just haven't received it formally, what they're looking for yet, so that's it. But I will tell you that all of the infrastructure, as far as water, the loop, the hydrants and things are already in out there. That line runs the entire distance, so I don't believe there'd be anything new required as far as that goes, but we just haven't gotten the formal comment yet. So
Okay.
we're just waiting.
I see. Thank you. Okay. Looks like we've got quite a few planning comments. Engineering, quite a few there as well. And it sounds like we've got a little bit of additional work, some communications with fire as well as survey. So we do have a recommended motion to continue to the next, did you say the next TRC? To the 20th? That should give everybody ample time, hopefully, to address these. Do you have anything, Wyatt, that is insurmountable based on the current layout in your comments? No, sir. All right. All right, well, we do have a recommended motion. Questions, comments, concerns from the committee? All right, let's have a motion, please.
Motion to continue.
Second?
Second.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and, actually, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. We're going to go ahead and hear this again on the 20th, hoping that we'll get all of our comments and concerns addressed in the interim. Thank you. All right, that'll bring us to item number 11, Juan's Auto Repair.
Yes, thank you. This is a minor development order application submitted by Interlight Engineering requesting approval to develop a 3,940 square foot auto repair shop on 1.02 acres with the future land use of commercial and a zoning of general commercial. Property is located in District 1 on the east side of US Highway 331 South, near the intersection of Sweetwater Lane, which is just south of our location here. So there are quite a number of planning comments and engineering comments. We have not received comments from environmental or Eglin Air Force Base. There were fire comments uploaded, but I was unable to open that document. So Mike does have a copy that can discuss if we need to, but I was not able to open that document. This site was rezoned last September, went from rural residential, rural village to commercial, general commercial, and of course, there's a lot of general commercial along 331 South. So with that, I'd like to enter the staff report into the record, please.
So entered.
And I'll entertain any questions you may have, or I'll turn it over to the applicant.
Any questions for staff? All right. Let's go ahead and just briefly talk about the fire comments. Do you have those available to discuss?
I do have those. The fire marshal passed these along to me. So his concerns for this property, he is requesting all fire and life safety plans to be emailed to him, as well as once this is completed, a Knox box will need to be installed on the business. And then when construction begins on this, access roads will need to be accessible to all fire apparatus. And then trees and other landscaping that will encroach onto this access road or hinder fire department access shall not be permitted. And that's his only concerns.
Okay, so those sound like conditions of approval, essentially?
Yes.
Meeting the code?
Yes.
Just we need X, Y, Z moving forward. Okay, fair enough. All right, Tim, thank you.
Good morning, committee. I'm David Smith with Interlight Engineering.
Morning.
And We have reviewed the comments. We're addressing the planning comments, White, your comments for engineering, and we were waiting to get the environmental comments and fire comments before we did resubmit the project, which the fire comments are not a concern. We can address those, and yeah, those are not a concern to us. So I don't have any questions and would respectfully request to move forward, contingent upon this addressing all the comments satisfactorily, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Any questions for the applicant? Is there, let's see, I'm looking at this site plan here. Are there environmentally sensitive lands?
There's a wetland that runs through the center of the property at an angle that we're impacting. That's the only way you can access the rear portion of the property.
This is, you guys are getting impact permits through the state?
Yes, we are.
And with the reduction in ISR, the site still works?
Yeah, I think we're at 54%. We're allowed to go 85%, so it's not a concern. We just need to show that to the reviewer.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this is, again, a minor review, and we're gonna open it up to the public. If anyone has any technical questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, what is staff's recommendation, Tim?
Well, again, if Wyatt doesn't have an issue with his comments, my comments are pretty minor. Probably the biggest comment is the 10% ISR penalty, which they didn't take into account, but I don't think they're going to be anywhere near what's allowed. So my recommendation would be to move it forward to the director to issue the development order once all outstanding comments have been resolved.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Questions, comments, concerns from the committee?
This was Ms. Andrea's review.
Okay.
I didn't have the opportunity to look at it in very much depth other than her comments and the site plans, the site civil plans. But it looks like she does have a lot of concern with the functions of the stormwater, and then with it, especially with it crossing the wetland area that's being piped with a balance pipe through the middle of it. Just the potential conflicts in stormwater and then not having a geotech report turned in with it. So I'm thinking it might be best to wait for environmental's comments and then wait for them to address some of them with her.
How is stormwater being treated? Is it underground?
Exfiltration, yes, sir.
Exfil?
And then also it looks like there's a pond to the side.
David, can you speak to that? It's really kind of hard to see what's going on this site plan. just based
Pond
on
to the
that.
northwest is for compensatory volume as it pertains to the flood zone. So the stormwater is being treated through two exfiltration systems. They're on either side of the pipe that provides conveyance for the wetland that runs through the center of the property. And why we, in our stormwater management plans, the geotechnical report's part of the management plan. So I'll make, obviously, sure Andrea has that, because that's what we use as the basis of the design. So I don't know if she didn't see it, but we'll make sure she does have that, because that's the way we design it. But other than that, I mean, everything from our perspective is straightforward. We'll make sure we do clarify those couple of things for Andrea too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, Wyatt, it sounds like you're wanting a little bit more time here, for the stormwater concerns. We have a recommended motion, but it sounds like you want a little bit more time, so if you wanna change that motion or ask for a continuance, then you can make that motion.
I would suggest the June 4th meeting to give them time to address this, because these items are being continued to the 20th. The staff report is due next Tuesday, so that does not, gives everyone involved less than a week to turn it around.
Understood. I do understand that concern. I also understand that the applicant wants to move forward, and it sounds like they've submitted most of everything that's required here. It just looks like sounds like we need a little bit more time to review. Is that accurate? David, did you already submit the geotech, or is it just lost in the file, or you need to submit that or perform it, or what's going on?
I can't verify. I'm just saying, we do a lot of submittals.
Sure,
And
sure.
this geotech is part of our stormwater management plan. I'm not gonna stand here and tell you 100% it's in there,
Okay.
but it's in all the other ones, so I'm making an assumption it's in this one.
Would you have I mean, obviously, I know you're working for a client and they need to keep moving, but would you have an issue going to the 4th, or would you prefer the 20th based on comments heard thus far?
Or conditional approval,
Well,
ideally.
obviously, yes, I understand that, yes.
Because I'll go ahead and share with Wyatt, I won't have any questions when I come back.
Okay,
So, but I'll do whatever you guys recommend. The 20th would be, if that gives Tim enough time.
I suspect, you know, he's just as busy as all of us, and he'll do his best to update the staff report if that's the way that we go here. What are your thoughts, White?
I know that with your company's track record, addressing these and working with Miss Andrea won't be a problem. I think that if they can work it out, I think a conditional one would be appropriate. I do have the concern that she's not here to speak to it, but as long as they can address it and the environmental things, should be able to go forward.
And I will commit to the committee. We will 100% work this out with Andrea.
And let's see, where's floodplain comments here? Okay, so they're satisfied. So, Wyatt, you're indicating that you're leaning more towards a conditional approval currently, understanding the track record of the applicant and the fact that it won't be approved until all these standards are addressed anyways?
Yes, sir.
All right. That's in line with staff recommendation. We'll go ahead and take a motion to that effect unless there's other concerns. Second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, thank you. This item is conditionally approved to move forward pending successful address of all outstanding and absent comments
Thank you.
received thus far.
Thank you.
That brings us to item number 12, Water Sound Town Center Origins, Spec 10.
Okay, this is a minor development order application submitted by McNeil Carroll Engineering on behalf of Watersound Town Center LLC. The request seeks to amend a previously approved minor development order MIN 22-4098 by changing the building from 2 stories to a single-story structure and increasing its size to approximately 18,106 square feet. The project is planned on plus or minus 55.12 acres with a future land use and a zoning category of Bay Walton Sector, Town Center, DSAP 1, Origin Spec 10. The property is located in District 5 at 11285 US Highway 98 East and can be identified by the parcel number on the staff report. May I enter this staff report into the record?
So entered.
Okay, so special considerations, as previously mentioned, this is part of the Watersound North DRI and Walton Bay Sector Plan DSAP 1. As of the time of this report, there were a number of outstanding reviews, Eglin Environmental, South Walton Fire, Department of Health, and GIS.
So is that time of publication?
Correct.
We're still missing those currently?
As of right now, I cannot speak to which ones have been submitted and which ones haven't.
Okay.
Okay, in terms of planning comments, they're relatively minor as it relates to annotation, some minor landscape comments that overlap with engineering as well, and photometrics, just ensuring that LDC section 5.09 is addressed. In terms of engineering, there are quite a few comments, specifically as it relates to traffic. DSAP 1 of the BWSP requires that each project will provide a detailed traffic analysis related to the level of service, LOS standards as a supplement to the development order application. That's a request that at the time of this report was requested. And some comments as it relates to bicycle requirements as it's required per the DSAP. And that's all the comments I have at this time.
Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns for staff? No, thank you.
Good morning, Robert Carroll, McNeil Carroll Engineering, 17800 Panama City Beach Parkway. We've gone through the comments and as stated, very minor comments. All the main infrastructure's in, the roads, the water, the sewer, all the drainage. So it's just a matter of footprint, a little back of house modification. There are any other outstanding comments, I don't think it have much of effect on this. Again, this is just the building itself.
Right, so it was originally approved at X square feet. You guys are coming in with a slight enlargement.
Yeah, we're taking the two-story, going to single-story, and widening it just a hair. So therefore, it couldn't be the less than minor because of the expansion. But again, most of all the infrastructure is already in. It's just a matter of tying into the water, sewer, drainage, the traffic. I mean, I think all of these are minor comments, so I think they can all be addressed if we respect the request to allow us to move forward and not be continued.
So what is is there an increase in the heated and cooled space from the first approval to now?
Slightly, yes, sir, not much.
Like how many square feet do you think? Just ballpark it?
Less than 2,000.
Okay.
But overall, we still have, because it's a master community, we still have a couple 100,000 square feet of impervious and building area that can still be built. That's already been designed for the stormwater and the roadway networks, parking lots, all that is all shared, common. The only one they're going to impact is themselves because they're surrounded by themselves.
Sure.
So it's an internal development.
And then this building is designed to be leased by 3 different operations? Is that the way
Yes,
I'm
sir.
seeing this?
Just like all the buildings, they're all owned by St. Joe Company, and every one of them are leased
Spaces
out.
are leased?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Understood. Any questions, concerns, comments for the applicant? No? Okay, thank you. Anyone in the audience with any technical questions, comments, or concerns for this one? Okay, seeing none. What's staff's recommendation on this?
Staff's recommendation is conditional approval pending all outstanding comments are minor and applicant addressing current outstanding comments on the staff report.
Okay, thank you. What, you see any concerns with that in terms of the engineering comments, transportation, concurrency comments?
Sir.
I didn't suspect that would be the case, just based on the increased square footage, but we do have a recommended motion. Questions, comments, concerns from the committee?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's have a motion to that effect then. Second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, this item is conditionally approved to move forward pending successful address of all outstanding comments. Okay, that brings us to number 13, Wagon Wheel RV Park.
Good morning.
Morning.
Item number 13, Wagon Wheel RV Park. This is project number MAJ 25000050. This is a major development application submitted by OWN Inc. on behalf of James Castellan, requesting to develop 57 RV sites, managers' residence, and recreational facilities on 9.04 plus or minus acres. The project site has a future land use and zoning category of estate residential. The property is in District 2 on the northeast corner of the intersection of US Highway 331 South and Wagon Wheel Road, and is identified by the parcel number in your staff report. May I enter the staff report into the record?
So entered.
Okay, so as of the date of the staff report, the following departments have outstanding comments: planning, environmental planning, and North Walton Fire District. I did have some conversations with the applicant this week, maybe last week, addressing some of those comments, and they did do their due diligence to upload that additional information. So I just want to note that the staff report is not the latest information, because what they provided was uploaded after the published date of this document. But they are making efforts to address the fire district comments. They did reach out to Eglin Air Force Base because Eglin did have some concerns about development within a critical approach zone, which is what this parcel is located in. The applicant did converse with Eglin about how to address that through mitigation in their site design, and that information is on page 14 of the staff report. But besides that, I don't have any additional concerns or questions about the property.
Okay, and the zoning is estate residential?
Yes.
Can you speak a little bit about how we allow for RV parks in estate residential, what that looks like? In terms of, is this a use allowed by right? Is this a functionally related ag use is kind of where I'm going with that? Is this a functionally related component in that zoning district?
I believe so. I would have to take a look at the code really quickly here to check any special development standards.
Yeah, let's do that real quick. I just have a question. I just want to make sure that I'm thinking about this correctly.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. What I'm thinking is that RV parks and estate residential are allowed as a functionally ag-related use, but as part of that, it's required that there is some natural sort of component, of the development. Typically, we see like a fishing opportunity or something along those lines, but I'm not really seeing that currently here.
Staff confirmed that is correct.
That is correct. That is a functionally ag-related use.
Yes.
So I'm seeing a future dog park, but I am not seeing any other sort of amenity or use on site that would kind of speak to that development standard, that special standard.
So the applicant, in terms of the recreational piece, they're offering the pool, the dog park, a fire pit and cookout area per the site plan. And I believe there's also a lounge area that's a part of that too. And the dog park and the cookout area is a part of phase 1.
Okay.
And that's how, I mean, from my interpretation of those special requirements in the code, I told the applicant that those would suffice as the recreational requirement.
So currently, does phase 1 exist currently, or is this proposed as phase 1 or phase 2?
Proposed.
So, okay, so nothing exists currently on site.
No.
Okay, so we're just reviewing phase 1 with phase 2 coming in at a later date?
Yes, this is the conceptual.
Okay.
And phase one and phase two would likely be minor development order applications, unless the applicant is proposing to construct everything in one go prior to CO.
I mean, it looks like they might have enough information on here to do that, or we'd allow for them to come back.
I
phase
believe
two.
so, but from my conversations with the applicant, it appears that they would be looking to do phases for the construction part of that. So my understanding with how we've historically handled phasing projects would be to allow the phase one and two to come in as their own technical
We would, you're
development
right.
order
Yes.
applications.
That is accurate. So I've got to be, honest that I'm not, and this I think probably needs some additional conversations internal. But I'd like to look at that language a little bit more, because I really think that ultimately that language under the estate residential, the functionally ag, speaks to a little bit more than what I'm seeing here. I certainly appreciate your interpretation, as it's not clear. But I'd like to discuss a little more internal. Any other questions, comments, concerns for staff? No. Let's hear from the applicant. Thank you.
Sean Humphrey with OWN. We're more than happy to meet with staff to discuss the nature component. Right now, we're providing picnic areas, dog park, and then pool with a patio area.
Yeah. And while I think typically that would be an acceptable component, in general terms, but my concern is, and I need to re-review that language, is that it speaks to more of a natural sort of, I think it actually says, fishing ponds and those sort of things. So it's really leaning more towards that sort of experience and not just what you've provided. So I just want to make sure that we're in keeping with the code. I mean, based on what I'm seeing here, you've got some space. Would you consider adding maybe a fishing pond or something that would be more in line with the language?
A fishing pond wouldn't be part of that mitigation with Eglin Air Force Base.
Right, 'cause they
Part of the
require-
bird strike requirement is no wet ponds or wet features.
Is it no, or is it there's size related to it? I thought
It's no. They were not wanting any water features. They were concerned about the stormwater facility.
bird attractant.
Yeah, so it is a dry pond. It recovers within, I believe, 4 hours.
How big is the site?
It is, I believe,
9.04
10
acres.
9.04.
There's possibility for nature trail on the northwest corner of the property, but we'd have to look at that because depending on the size of that trail or what the county requires for that amount of area dedicated towards natural components.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and request that we continue this to
Okay.
the 4th, June 4th. Let's set up a meeting and kind of discuss how we move forward here, especially considering Eglin's issues with wet ponds. Yeah, let's do that. And I just want to say that I think the review was a good review here. I'm not trying to take anything away from my staff. I think I just want to be sure that my understanding of that language is accurate before we move this thing forward. So I'm going to
Understandable.
request a motion to go ahead and continue this 30 days or to the next available first meeting in June is what I mean to say. So if I could have that motion, please. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Shall I reach out to your office to schedule a meeting?
Yeah, let's go ahead, Ayana, let's get with Donna and let's schedule a time to sit down next couple weeks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, that brings us to Bitter Ends Estates. Item number 14.
Bitter End Estates request to approve by development order, project number MIN 26-000027 is being reviewed by myself, Bridget Clements. This is a minor development order application submitted by ECAE LLC on behalf of Windsor Place LLC, requesting to modify the existing DO number MIN 24-000042 and add 0.21 acres as a result of an increase of lots 2 and 5 on 1.3 acres with a future land use of mixed use and a zoning category of coastal center. This property is located in District 4 at the south end of Tango Mar Drive and can be identified by the parcel ID numbers in the staff report. The comments we have for this one, I would like some guidance on this. What they're adding is kind of hard to, just at a glance, it's kind of hard to see, but it's like a sliver on the east, and then it kind of like backward L shapes going west at the very bottom. And one of my comments was, where did that come from? And I guess the Tango Mar is a unrecorded subdivision, so that is their common area. And I couldn't find a lot split, and then after speaking to the applicant, I would just like to know if that would have been required to do a lot split off of their common area, but they don't have a development order for it to begin with. Tango Mar doesn't anyway, but they did split that and then sell it to the applicant. Other than that, which is my biggest concern, there are environmental and fire. I'm still waiting to get those reviews back, and then engineering is the only other comments we have back not addressed yet besides my own. The original development order was approved in October of '24. And also, it is Bitter End Estates, for the record. I put Bitter Ends. I don't know what happened there, but I definitely perpetuated it. I thought it sounded metal, but, those are all my comments. Can you please enter the staff report into the record?
So entered, thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns for staff? I do suspect, and maybe you can look at this a little bit. There may be some concerns from fire just based on the current layout. You have any thoughts on that? I know this isn't your district, but.
You said you haven't received any comments from Southland?
No, and they're not changing much. They're adding it's like a sliver between that RV park that's next door
To the east?
to the east side, and then south, some on the south. I don't have the exact numbers there, but on the existing conditions, you can see it a little bit better. It's like a backwards L shape being added to it on the east side, and then it hooks and goes west.
Okay. So there's really just one kind of primary access for the four new dwellings, it looks like, up
Yes,
on the
and
north side?
there's access up there, and then there is an easement access.
To the south residence?
yeah.
And I'm assuming that's gonna be the owner's residence. Is that existing currently?
I don't believe they've I'm not 100% if they started on it yet or not. I can defer that to the applicant. It was approved in '24, and they're just adding acreage to the existing subdivision.
Okay. Okay. Any comments, questions, concerns for staff? No? All right, thank you.
Good morning, Dean Burgess with Emerald Coast, or ECA.
Morning.
E.
Wait, ECAE?
ECAE LLC. Yes,
Okay, okay.
new name, new owner. I'm a 1099 employee. I'm the engineer of record on the project, and Bridget did a good job introducing it. This was approved in 2024. Basically, the access configuration that you were asking about, Chairman, has not changed. They did just add property to the development along the eastern side and the south side. And that southern lot, the large lot number 5, is the developer owner's property. We typically don't show the details of the house in a subdivision that's going to go on the lot, but he had them, so we shared them with the county. It will still have to go through, BPR review whenever they go in for their building permit, as well as building permit review. So it's a little redundant, but we had the information, and he does have basically his own retention pond on the property.
Yeah, I see
So
that.
hopefully that will keep us from having to do a single-family stormwater at the time of building permit.
And then the 4 lots looks like it's an exfil.
It's an exfil system. It actually was put in. There was a subdivision that was planned back in 2007. Infrastructure got put in, exfil got put in, then the market bust happened and it sat. So that road has not changed in configuration since 2007.
And then as part of the work that you all perform out there, is that going to be sort of revisited, make sure that the system's working?
We actually, on the development order that was approved, they've started construction, and one of the things that they're doing is getting a vac truck in there and sucking out anything that may be in the inlets of that exfil system. I've impressed on the contractor that there's concerns that it's sat as long as it has unattended. But the addition of the property, I understand Bridget's comment. Ordinarily, if Tangomar were a platted subdivision, yeah, we'd need to go back and look. When we give up that common area, are we reducing the overall density or acreage of that subdivision and causing a density problem? It's an unrecorded subdivision, literally, that looks like it was drawn on a piece of notebook paper. And it predates the code when there was density assigned to the property and a required acreage to support that density. So it is, as best as I can tell, they deeded the property to the owner, the association did, and it's really no different than somebody buying a parcel adjacent to a development and adding it into that development. I did tell Bridget that we may need to schedule a meeting with you to get your thoughts on that, and I think Donna is working on scheduling that meeting. I'm fine if we do that just as a phone meeting, if it's better on your schedule and mine.
Okay.
But I think we should go ahead and vet that and make sure that there's no concerns.
I
you.
agree. I'm not really concerned, but I would like to work through a little bit, so I appreciate your efforts there. Thank
I
you.
just wouldn't want it to come up at the time of the plat or, something like that.
Right,
So,
right.
other than that, I've got Wyatt's comments and, we can respond to those. Wyatt, I don't know that you understood that the exfil system's already been reviewed. Those lots aren't changing, so, but we'll respond to your comments.
Based on that and that discussion, I'm really, and while we haven't asked for recommendation here, I'm leaning towards moving this to the 20th, just to hopefully find some time to talk through some of this stuff, if we can fit something in.
How about we offer this, we bring it back to TRC if our meeting yields that there's a concern or something we need to address.
So here's how I feel about it. The meeting's either gonna end up with what's been done thus far is okay, or it's gonna end up with some sort of split fusion application. I mean, I don't see how it would go any other way than that. Either way, this is a very minor subdivision, and I'm really not concerned about it because I know that the right thing will be done one way or the other. but I would like to have just a little bit more time to get through it. And I'm not sure if we have a mechanism to say that, to make that a motion, but we can try it, I guess. Let's say,
I've got items on the 20th agenda.
Yeah.
So it's not, I don't want to forge new policy. We can just rehear it on the 20th.
I appreciate that, Dean. Thank you. All right, well, let's do that. Bridget, sorry to step on your toes here, but we're just going to ask for a motion to hear this again, to continue it to the 20th. Hopefully, we'll get everything buttoned up by then and move forward. So if I could have a motion to that effect, please. And if there's anyone, actually, before we do that, just since there may be folks here, we'll go ahead and open this up. Is there anyone with comments, questions, concerns? Thank you, sir. Come on up.
Hello, thank you for your time. My name is Robert Predella, Predella.
Morning.
Good morning. I'm a resident north of this development. I have a few items. I would like to submit a couple letters to the board, if that's all right. In regards to the modification, the parcel on the east side is a 15-foot strip between the campground and the development. The original land description was in a warranty deed recorded in the official records book of 1662, page 362. And it has a restrictive covenant on it. It says, all of the property herein conveyed shall remain in its natural condition. No structure of any type shall be constructed thereon. It goes on to say, this covenant is and restriction shall run and bind with the land and shall inure to the benefit of and enforceable by any member of the Tangomar Beach Property Owners Association. So as a member of the association, I'm trying to invoke that no building actually gets put on that 15-foot strip of land.
Okay.
According to the covenant restriction. And I have a letter that shows that.
And you're saying that's within that is on the western portion of this site?
It's on the eastern portion of this site.
Oh, okay.
It shows lot 2. The previous person talked about that it shows the building on it, and it doesn't need to be shown on it, but he shows it. It shows the building actually on the 15-foot strip that he recently acquired.
Understood.
So I just want to make sure that that restrictive covenant is agreed to or enforced.
You're on the board of Tangomar?
I'm the vice president. Actually, the developer is the president of the association, so it's kind of murky. They had a meeting last fall. The association had a full member meeting, and the president brought this up. He didn't bring it up as a land sale. He brought it up as a lot 0 line, and he asked the membership to vote on a lot 0 line next to the property that we own. And then, unbeknownst to anybody in the membership, he had the secretary sell him this land. And he also had him sell the land south of there, the 20-foot strip. So that's the other part that I'm here for. I'm sorry I'm running out of time, but the other part is it was unlawfully sold. We just found out about this Friday when the agenda got on the map here. And so we're all surprised that our land was taken. And so we're trying to not allow this modification to happen. We understand he's a developer. He's trying to make, what he needs to do. We all agree with the original plan, but the modification was unlawful, and there's restrictive covenants in that regards.
Okay. If you would, please give those comments, the letters to the clerk, to Ms. Karen.
Two quick other ones, or go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sorry. Right, and thank you. If you would, is your contact information on either of those pieces?
I put my cell phone number on those letters.
So you're out of time. Respectfully, please give those instruments to the clerk. You will have another opportunity to raise those other concerns in the follow-up meeting. We are going to continue this, and this will be part of the conversations we have with the agent prior to bringing this back. All right, sir?
Yep, some of the stuff I just want, I was gonna let him know just because it might help the board go faster, but if you want me to wait to 20,
Well, no, I think our land use attorney is trying to make some comments. She may be asking me to hear you out. I'm not sure.
Mr. Schoen, I do want to make sure that we discuss at this point, some of these things that he's talking about. They're not really going to be things that we legally are going to be able to address as far as the development. The covenants and restrictions for an HOA, those are going to be private matters that are what's called civil issues.
it's not an HOA thing, it's just it's a recorded deed. It says it can't build on it.
So
It's not an HOA thing.
you were discussing there were some issues with the HOA and potentially some misleading of the HOA.
Oh, yeah,
and all of
yes,
this. So,
that's something else, yeah.
all of that, I don't want to give you the false hope that we're going to be able to fix those issues for you.
I completely
in
understand.
the address of
yeah.
this. So my recommendation would be to probably talk to a civil attorney for
Yeah,
yourself.
we're in the process. We just found out Friday. We've been fooled, so we're trying to figure out as an association what to do. But I just wanted to bring up the restrictive covenant part, and so to me, it's either one or the other. You either bless the modification or you don't, and they go back to square one and give you another proposal. The modification has a building on a land that says a restrictive covenant that you can't put a building on it, so the
understand.
modification can't go forward. Thank
I
you.
understand. Thank you. Ms. Howard, did I see your hand up? Please come up. No, please come up to the record so we can hear you.
I was just going to let this gentleman know if there was anything else that needed to be presented, that I'm here. If there was anything else that needed to be presented or whatever, I could
You
look
have
up.
3 minutes? Is that what you're saying? It's just, the easement on the north side,
Sir, if Ms. Howard is offering to present for you, that's fine, but.
I don't have
Well,
notes.
can you kind of, we've got
But-
3 minutes. Can you tell me what's going on?
The easement,
That's just not appropriate.
I have 3 minutes, please.
it's okay, because you're going to readdress this on the
That's
20th, so
correct.
I'm not
Yes.
going to waste your time. I'm sorry about that.
No, you're.
I'll just talk to you on the 20th.
Okay,
I didn't
thank you.
expect.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Ms. Howard. I do appreciate your offer there. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to address this? Dean, I know we're going to discuss this further. I just wanted to give you a quick opportunity if you want to say anything to finalize this meeting portion.
No, I mean, that we'd go ahead and meet with you and staff and Ms. Brooks if wants to be in the meeting. As far as construction on the easement, I was not made aware of that stipulation. We can very easily, what we did was we just went ahead and took advantage of the additional land and expanded the building envelope on Lot 2.
Right.
We can keep it out of the easement and reduce that, building footprint that's shown, and that would be platted to where there's no construction in the easement.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, well, we look forward to discussing further and finding a path forward here, so.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to be out next week.
Okay.
So if we can possibly at all do it this week, like I say, if even a phone call would work for me.
Okay, yeah,
I'll
we'll
talk
see
to
what we can
Donna.
do.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. So how about a motion to move this to the 20th, please? To continue this to the 20th.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. We will hear this again on the 20th. And that will bring us to item number 15, JNE Ventures 98 Retail. I'm sorry? Yeah, okay, do we, how about this? It's been a minute. Why don't we take a 5-minute break? Sufficient? Okay, good to go. Thank you.
I live on this phone.
All right, thank you for your patience. We are on item number 15, the J&E Ventures 98 Retail.
Okay, item number 15, J&E Ventures 98 Retail. This is a request to approve by development order, project number MIN 26000009. This is a minor development order application submitted by Palmer Construction and Management LLC on behalf of J&E Ventures of SRB LLC, requesting to develop an additional 12,000 square foot, two-story commercial building on 1.16 acres with the future land use of mixed use in a zoning category of coastal center. The property is located in District 4 at 12272 US Highway 98 West and can be identified by the parcel number in your staff report. May I enter the staff report into the record?
Yes, you may. Would you like to enter this as well?
Yes.
Thank you. The staff report and
Public comment.
and public comment are entered. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so let's see here. So I will say that on this site, and I don't know if we have yes, we do have the visual pulled up. So there is an existing building on this site from a previous development order. It's called the Sheriff Building, major development order in less than minor. That's in the staff report for the approval of a two-story commercial restaurant development. That was 3,700 square feet at the time. And this proposed development is for the vacant area on the north side of the parcel under this project for J&E Ventures Retail, where it would be proposed commercial space for that site. So there were several conversations with the applicant regarding impacts to wetland and making sure all of that was accounted for in their site data table. There were also concerns from staff about parking requirements as it relates to the common access area and how exactly we would define that through our county standards and how the applicant would apply that parking standard. There was discussion at the last TRC on April 1st, 2026, where the applicant, where the deputy planning director requested that the applicant define to apply the most intense parking standard for the common access area because it is conditioned space. So that would be one space per 350. But the applicant did address this in their comment letter, where because it's not leasable space, they believe that the parking standard would not apply in this case. And I'll give them an opportunity to elaborate on that a little further.
Great.
The other things that stand out, let's see, is the fact that this will have to go to the design review board because it is along the Highway 98 scenic corridor, and there are several outstanding comments for that. That's not a part of this staff report package, but it is uploaded to the applicant's portal and available for their viewing, which there was an agreement that they would address that information after they get through the TRC stage.
Okay.
Let's see. That's all I have so far. There may be more, but if you have questions, let me know. If not, I can turn it over to the applicant.
So at the time, go ahead.
Sorry, there is more.
Okay.
I would also like the applicant to address for the record some of the public concerns that came in regarding specifically the vegetation to the north and whether that existing vegetation, which is a part of the wetlands and the 20-foot landscape buffer, would not be disturbed, and if they would be adding additional landscaping to the north of that site per the site plan. There were also specific questions and concerns about the retaining wall around the site, and as that relates to stormwater, then I'm hoping engineering could maybe answer some of those questions or concerns that the applicant or public might have on that. And also wetlands. That was another area of concern, as I mentioned earlier. So those are the primary things that stand out to me right now.
Okay, and what do you mean in terms of wetlands? What is the primary concern there?
Well, initially, there was, because this entire site is made of wetlands, there were a lot of concerns from surrounding neighbors in terms of stormwater runoff impact, disturbance because of the retaining wall that would be built there. Where exactly is that retaining wall? How would that impact existing vegetation? There were also concerns between staff and the applicant regarding them accounting for the ISR impact, given the wetlands in the area. I will add that during the pre-application stage, we did have a conversation with the applicant about the best location to place this building, given the uncomplimentary land use that it's surrounded, well, not surrounded by, but to the north of the property, there's single-family residential. And we could either, the applicant could have either placed the building closer to the single-family residential, or they could have placed it in the best location for the least amount of impact, which would be the uplands. So this was the design that they came up with. And I think that they have definitely done their part to try to address that as best as they can. But I still think that there are concerns, particularly from the public, regarding those items that I mentioned a moment ago.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns for staff? Nope. Okay, and just so I make sure I'm following. So currently, or based at least on data publication, we still have planning, engineering, and environmental concerns?
Yes, that is correct, but the applicant did upload a response to comment letter, I believe this week or last week. It was after the publication date where they did address the planning, environmental, and engineering comments. But until staff have had a chance to lay our eyes on that information and supporting documentation to make sure that they've met our outstanding comments, that's the status of things right now.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll hear from the applicant.
Good morning. My name is Jordan Palmer with Palmer Construction Management. I'm here on behalf of my client, J&E Ventures of SRB.
Good morning.
Good morning. Prior to the last hearing, we had submitted our first resubmittal, but we're still awaiting comments. I received those last of those comments last week. And here at the fourth TRC meeting, we had submitted and responded to those comments that were received last week, this past Monday. So to my knowledge, there are no outstanding comments remaining, waiting on responses from us. Initially, there was a significant number of comments made on the first submittal and a number of citizen comments. When I was here last month, I did respond to those citizen comments and acknowledging the changes that were made. Largely, the concerns coming from the community were the landscape buffer, stormwater, and lighting. Regarding the landscape buffer, we have moved our retaining wall out of it entirely, so we're preserving the entire 20 feet versus the 15 feet that was shown in our initial submittal. Regarding stormwater and the retaining wall, we have, this project does have an exfiltration system and a large retaining wall around it, but for the sake of stormwater, we're actually producing the ability to manage more stormwater capacity on the site than is currently available now. and lighting, I had indicated that we would, meet county guidelines and agree to downward lighting or timers to help with that. And think that pretty much addresses the citizen comments. The only outstanding since my dialogue with Ayana since the latest resubmittal were comments related to the parking requirements that was discussed at the last hearing with the engineer that was here. And she instructed me to reference the ITE manual for justification of removing this common area space. The proposed development has 9 tenant spaces, 9 potential tenant spaces. And there's 2,600 square feet of shared circulation and support space that includes common corridors, shared lobby hallways, and circulation space not assigned to a tenant. This space is not leasable to a tenant. It does not contain employees or customers, does not function as independent commercial use, and it does not generate additional parking demand. And trying to comply with the LDC, Chapter 5 establishes that the off-street parking is intended to provide adequate parking for the actual occupants, employees, customers, and visitors generated by a use. Again, this common area space does not have a use, does not have customers, does not have visitors, and is not generating any additional parking.
Did you have to review that? Yep. And just for the record, just for folks in the audience, the code does allow for some adherence, I guess, if you will, to the ITE when it comes to parking and different uses that we don't exactly cover in the land development code. So this is one of those situations where it sounds like the applicant is proposing a slightly different standard than we would recognize in the code based on the ITE manual, the most current version of said manual.
Yes, sir. I think once the building becomes multi-tenant occupied, it is a little different than a entire office building. And at the point of having the multiple tenants, then you start looking at gross leasable area versus gross square footage floor area. And the industry standard parking methodologies used across the state, including the ITE generation practices, based parking demand on occupied and functioning tenant areas that generate activity and trips. Circulation components such as hallways and lobbies are considered necessary building infrastructure and are inherently embedded within observed parking demand data. They are not treated as separate parking uses. For the sake of an example, a tenant leasing 1,000 square feet space receives parking based on employees and customers occupying that suite, as well as the existence of a shared hallway outside the suite that does not create additional occupants or increase parking demand. The proposed common areas serve only to support the leasable tenant spaces and do not independently increase the intensity of use of this building.
Understood. You said there's going to be 9 leasable spaces?
Potential of a maximum of 9. The first floor has 6, the second floor has 5, and those spaces are, speculative at this point, and a tenant could occupy more than one space, and in that case, you would have less than 9 tenants.
So this is going to be a 2-story structure or higher?
It's 2-story.
2-story. What's the total height?
The total height, I believe, is 32.
Okay. And the only residential use that's abutting the property is to the north?
Yes, sir. To the north, there's a neighborhood, and that, as Ayana explained, is kind of how we've ended up with the placement of this building where it is directly behind the existing. That enables us to preserve the entirety of the landscape buffer and move the structure that's on this proposed site as far away as possible from the residential area.
Is it as far away as possible? There looks to be some additional space, unless this is a stormwater.
There's existing stormwater for the existing.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's for the existing development that is in between the 2 buildings.
Okay, understood. And then what is that? An ADA ramp just to the north of where that pond would be? Is that?
Yes, sir. That is something that was added based on the first round of comments that we received.
Okay.
Largely, I think we've addressed 79 comments and 4 citizen comments. And I think largely the bulk of what was left unresolved was this parking standard. And again, we resubmitted on Monday, addressing the remaining comments. The second round of reviews produced far less comments, and all of those comments have been addressed in our resubmittal on Monday, but are still pending review.
In terms of the existing restaurant use, is that still an active restaurant?
No, sir. It's the first floor is general business area occupied by a vacation rental company. Above that is a coffee shop. The previous development order had this established as a tavern, which accommodated for a cigar bar, I believe. And it has since transitioned into a coffee shop. So that's been reflected as a restaurant in our parking table. And I think the long-term intention of this development is to apply a general business use to the whole development. It was recently purchased by the owner, and this tenant was currently occupying the space and under lease.
Okay. And the 9 units that may or may not be available, what is the designed use there? Is that just general office?
It's all general business and professional services.
So it's a 1 to 350?
Yes, sir.
In that, excluding the hallways and common areas?
Excluding the
Is that what you're
hallways
saying?
and excluding the 1,800 square foot of restaurant space that's allotting 1 per 150.
The 1,800 feet of restaurant space in the existing
Yes, sir.
building? Okay,
Yes, sir.
so you guys are taking the entirety of the site into consideration when you're looking at?
For the parking, yes, sir.
Parking, okay. So, will you be proposing any sort of shared parking with that existing structure, or?
Parking will be based upon the quantity of square footage leased by the tenant, and will be assigned based on, with each individual lease for the tenant space.
So here's my concern, right? So we have a number of these structures, where it's just these shell buildings that are then built out by individual leaseholders in the future. And inevitably, parking is short in these things. It happens all over the county. I'm not saying that will be the situation here. I can't, operate on assumptions, but we've got a pretty decent track record of that being the case here. So I do have some concerns about the parking on this site.
I think the owner has been made aware of the acceptable uses within this general business and coastal center zoning. But again, I think it's wholly speculative to know who's going in that space at this point in time. And I think it is likely that the space is not divided 9 times, but I did want to present that as a maximum potential amount of occupants.
Has there been any consideration into limiting what would be allowed within those particular suites to ensure that parking is adequate?
Yes, sir. I think the limitations are going to be defined by the LDC and the parking requirements for the businesses going in there through their CLUC process. Having no idea what tenants may come to the space or what demand is currently being asked. I know that the vacation rental company is looking at leasing a large portion of this building, and in that case, they would occupy multiple spaces. However, all I have been able to do is make my client aware of the land use certificate process and the acceptable uses that are defined in the LDC.
Understood. All right. Any questions for the applicant? Comments, concerns? All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll go ahead and open this up. Anyone in the audience has any technical questions, comments, or concerns, please come up.
I'm Donald Swanby. I reside at 110 Mariner Way.
Good morning.
It's on the northwest corner of this site. And myself and my neighbors have looked at the new site plan, and we're pleased to note that the 20-foot buffer is now completely undisturbed, and the retaining wall will be put at the 20-foot level. There was another change on the new site plan, though. On the northwest corner, there is a drainage pipe that'll enter, and there's a rectangle in the buffer zone that I don't understand what that is.
Yeah, I see what you're saying on the northeast portion, the dumpster pad.
There's a small one on the northeast corner, and that was there on the first site plan. But on the page, it's the top left side, which is the northeast corner. There's now a rectangle that is
That
in the
looks-
buffer zone.
That looks to be a drainage structure, and yeah, I believe that the buffer itself, other than stormwater mechanisms, the code doesn't allow for any encroachments in that, other than access and stormwater. So it would be my contention that that dumpster pad needs to be pulled out of that buffer, if that's still existing there. Or maybe you know what, I'm looking at that wrong. That arrow goes beyond the buffer. That's in the parking lot. Okay, good. That's not an issue. But the code does allow for an encroachment into buffers for stormwater mechanisms. So that's just gonna have to be something that the applicant requests officially with from the director, that approval to encroach, and you've got a 40% limitation there, which I'm sure you're meeting. Continue, sir. I'm sorry, I kind of cut you off. I'll give you some extra time on that one.
And what's on this new site plan is this drainage pipe that runs from the existing building where there's a drainage pond or something there, and then it goes to the east, or the west rather, and then it goes all the way back to that drainage that we're in, and I'm just wondering, why was that added to this new site plan? Is that water that's going to be coming from the entire parking lot and draining back into the buffer zone?
I would suspect that's some sort of pop-off mechanism, but we'll ask the applicant to explain that for us. Yeah, I'm giving him extra time.
Another issue is at the top of the retaining wall, they're proposing a guardrail so that people don't drive over the cliff, which makes sense. Since I live behind the parking lot of the hotel, they put up an 8-foot dog-eared fence, because the issue is the property is raised 6 feet high so that when cars are driving, those headlights go right into my kitchen. And this site is going to be raised 6 feet. And so I guess we're wondering, can we put up some type of a fence to block some of the headlights that would be coming into our single-family homes?
Okay.
Now, with the hotel, I had requested an opaque fence, but they ended up putting up just a dog-eared slat fence. So after 6 years, those headlights do come through the fence.
Understood.
A guardrail doesn't do much for
Is there,
headlights.
is there a vegetative buffer at that hotel site?
There's 20 feet, but 20 feet of woods, headlights go right through it.
Even with the fence, you're still getting that issue. All right.
The fence does help. The fence that runs only about to a half of my property. Then they must have ran out of money because they didn't finish it.
Okay.
But the lights still go through the fence, but not as bad as the other half.
Understood.
So we're just asking for a little more something.
Understood. What else?
Another thing is the dumpster, I guess, is going to be located here in that same corner. Now, there is an existing dumpster for the current building. I'm just wondering, could those be combined at the existing place, or is,
Where is the current dumpster location?
pardon me?
I'll ask the applicant when
Yeah.
you're done, but yeah, that'll be something.
And I guess the other thing is, they're going to be putting in some landscaping, but with my experience with the hotel, those 9 live oaks died within the first year. So,
Well, the code requires that they survive that first year, so if that is.
Pardon me?
I said the code requires that plantings survive that first year at minimum. If you've experienced, that those landscape improvements have not, I would suggest calling code compliance.
they planted some palm trees, which I had asked for to begin with, but anyway, they're
Okay.
doing fine.
Very good.
I'm sure there was something else, but
Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
I'm having a hard time hearing. I'm supposed to go to the doctor, but I haven't yet.
You better get to the doctor, sir.
If Jordan's going to be speaking, do you mind if I stand here?
I don't mind that at all. Thank you. Actually, but before we do that, let's just see if anyone else in the audience has any technical questions, comments, concerns.
I know some of my neighbors are online watching.
Very good. All right, thank you. Come on up.
Mr. Swamby and I had a lengthy conversation on the phone yesterday. I tried to.
Short one.
25 minutes after our email, but we won't. I tried to make sure that you did feel that I was hearing your concerns and wanted to communicate with you and not just ignore the reach out. So that was my reason for emailing you yesterday and taking your phone call. But in response to some of the comments that you said here, I think one of the comments that you made was that the entirety of the stormwater being dumped onto that back wetland area. That's simply not the case. The exfiltration system here is got a substantial capacity for retaining stormwater on the site. And that overflow discharge is simply that, for capacity that's exceed what's managed on the site. So I wouldn't expect the entirety of any stormwater on the project to be dumped back towards your property. We will retain quite a bit on site. And then regards to the landscape buffer and a potential fence, the existing vegetation on the site is very mature. The 20-foot buffer has significant thick brush and trees, and it is notably more than what was left available at the hotel next door. And I think that, it will serve quite a purpose to help eliminate lighting, and I'm glad that we were able to get this preservation of this buffer, increased and still make the site work. But my client wants to have happy neighbors next to him, and he's concerned about your comments as well. So I certainly, open the door to, anything we can do to alleviate the concerns of the community.
With that in mind, would you be willing to consider incorporating that secondary dumpster in the primary?
Yes, as to speak to the dumpster, the existing dumpster is not enclosed and it is sitting at the wood line. And it will move the dumpster set up for this entire development will exist in this new enclosure on the new phase of the development.
And it will be enclosed?
Yes, sir.
And it will be entirely out of the buffer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And to the fence consideration, would that be something the owner would consider placing on top of that retaining wall?
I
the
think that's
privacy
something we
fence?
could, absolutely, we looked at, considered it as an option before moving the retaining wall, but as a screening, it was required to be masonry and of certain elevation and was gonna cost a significant amount of money to try to accomplish. I think under the conditions that it is simply functioning as a privacy fence and not having to be a masonry structure, that we could absolutely incorporate a fencing on top of the retaining wall that integrates as a guardrail.
Great. It looks like we have some appreciation from.
The more the better.
Yep.
My experience, 20 feet of woods, you would think would stop a headlight, but it doesn't.
Understood.
So a fence would help. And instead of a slatted fence, if it could be opaque, that's even better.
An opaque vinyl type fence
there you
that
go.
doesn't have any slats.
Yeah, while there is not a requirement here, I do certainly appreciate
would be
you
a
working
happy
with your
neighbor.
neighbors, so thank you.
Happier neighbor.
Yeah.
My client explicitly expressed the desire to not make any neighbors unhappy. So I think we're committed to, and if a fence accomplishes that at this point, we're committed to making sure that, our development is not gonna encroach or interfere on your property or property values.
Very good.
Rectangle here.
Yes, sir. It's riprap showing a discharge structure for any overflow from this existing stormwater pond. So if this were to exceed capacity, it's an outlet for that water to escape.
There'll be no trees removed there.
There's a 5-foot portion of this buffer that is showing as the silt fence is being placed for the construction, but the new landscape plan establishes all new landscaping, significant amount of landscaping on that 5-foot portion that's removed for
So you're gonna remove trees and what are you gonna put there?
it's a discharge structure, it's a stormwater structure.
What does that look
A
like?
discharge outlet. It is riprap, it's the end of a pipe and then large pieces of concrete to prevent erosion.
There's gonna be trees removed in the buffer.
This whole 5-foot portion, I think, we can hand clear that area. It's only needing to be accessible for the construction of the retaining wall. And we can hand clear that area to preserve any trees that aren't interfering with that wall. And then the new landscape plan introduces additional landscaping within that space as well.
I mean, couldn't that be moved on this side of the retaining wall?
Well, the retaining wall is on the buffer line, and for accessibility for building this project and accessing that location, it shows the silt fence 5 feet further. But like I did on the phone yesterday, I commit to, preserving any trees that do not interfere with this retaining wall, plus the addition of a number of new trees that we intend to add.
Yes, but I'm a little concerned is when you put up the retaining wall, even though that retaining wall will not be in the buffer, the roots underneath are probably going to be damaged. So there's probably going to be some.
And that's why there's a requirement for us to install all new landscaping within that 5-foot area. However, I think going beyond that would be the attempt to preserve any trees that exist in that space that are not interfering with the construction of the retaining wall.
Does this drain pipe have to flow north?
Yes, sir.
Why can't it flow south?
Well, that's a natural low-lying area that holds, that is already got a jurisdictional wetland ditch back there.
Okay, well, I certainly appreciate the back and forth. I think that we've come to a place where I'm satisfied with the answers provided thus far. I think maybe there's some additional work in terms of maybe some fence materials, et cetera. I fully expect a letter requesting the encroachment of the stormwater mechanisms in the required buffer, so we can approach that offline here. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
All right. Ayanna, do you have a recommended motion here?
I do. There are a couple of things that I want to speak to before I make my recommended motion, if I may, in terms of facts for the record. In terms of, that is something that Mr. Swanby and I talked at length about regarding concerns with screening and lighting. I do want to add to the record that this project still needs to go through a DRB review. I did have a pretty extensive amount of comments regarding lighting, screening requirements, landscaping requirements. So all of those things will either have to be addressed prior to going to DRB, or if there's still additional questions and concerns, the DRB will likely have those questions. So that would give the public another opportunity to address those things during the public comment period at that time, especially for any type of design requirements regarding materials and aesthetic design of the fencing and screening and lighting. That was another thing that's required, is the lighting plan. I did ask the applicant in my scenic corridor review to provide additional information because that is important given the commercial use, and that speaks to some of the things that, some of the concerns that Mr. Swanby had.
Okay, thank you.
I think I would also like to add that it may be helpful, and the applicant and I can discuss this further, to possibly provide a cross-section diagram of that section of the buffer to the north there. I do see in their landscape plan that they provided that there is existing vegetation that will remain. And to Jordan's point, they do speak to adding additional landscaping within that 5 feet before we reach the retaining wall. but it may be helpful for the public to get a better look at what that's going to look like on the ground in terms of a cross-section. That might also help the DRB understand any type of impact that might have to the existing vegetation or lack of impact. It's just my recommendation. It may not be a requirement, but I highly recommend that we do that.
Okay.
Okay, besides that, I don't have anything else. I recommend conditional approval to move it out of TRC pending the applicant's ability to address any outstanding comments or any pending technical reviews and to move this forward to the DRB stage.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns from the committee? Okay. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion as recommended.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. This item is conditionally approved to move forward to DRB review and DO issuance upon successful address of all outstanding comments. Next item is item number 16, the Rose Star subdivision.
Okay, item number 16, this is Rose Star subdivision, a request to approve by development order, project number MIN 25000143. This is a minor development order application submitted by W Development, Inc. on behalf of Rose Star 2 LLC, requesting to subdivide 4.53 acres of the 14.8 acre parent parcel into 4 residential lots. The parcel contains 2 future land use designations of residential and mixed use and 2 zoning districts of residential preservation and small neighborhood. The property is in District 5, east of US Highway 331 South, north of Doodles Forest Road, and adjacent to Bay Magnolia Lane, and can be identified by the parcel number in your staff report. May I enter the staff report and the public comments packet into the record?
So entered.
Okay. So this application, the proposal has changed. The original proposal, as advertised in the agenda blurb, was for the subdivision of 4 units of density or 4 lots. After extensive conversation on this project, the applicant agreed to reducing that original request down to 3 units of density or 3 lots. I will also add that this parcel is associated with a PUD, the Walton Apartments PUD, which has several other names that I've mentioned on the record in past meetings: Point Washington Apartments, Sanctuary at 331 Apartments. There's a lot of history to this parcel that I would imagine we may get into that conversation today. But according to the ordinance, I believe the number is 2009-17, the parcel that's in front of us today is a part of that PUD. Now, according to the site plan, there is a huge chunk of that parcel that is within the wetlands. Per Andrea's request of the applicant to upload the conservation easement surveys, we do see that this northeast chunk of wetlands, at least according to the conservation easement surveys, is not within that, and maybe the applicant can confirm that. But per the ordinance, it does show that area, the 14 acres, as open space. And the county has confirmed that we defined open space under this PUD as including greenway corridors, wetlands, conservation areas, and things of that nature. So that's just a little bit about the background without digging into the weeds at this moment. As far as this application on this parcel, I think it'll be helpful for the applicant to address any questions or concerns that we've had among staff regarding access points. Based on a cursory look, because the applicant did upload their response to comment letter, so just know that the staff report that's in front of you today is not the latest information, but they did upload information after the staff report was published, and they provided an auto turn analysis. They provided a response to comments, particularly responding to planning's concerns, engineering, and fire. And it appears that they have addressed most of what our concerns were. But based on the latest information that I have in front of me right now, I'm still having some questions from the planning side regarding the parking that I'm seeing and the drainage easement. I'm hoping that the applicant can speak to that. I'm also seeing on sheet 4 of 12, it's showing that the lot lines are still under the original proposal. So I'm assuming that might be a typo on sheet 4 of the updated civil plans. And there's also some concerns about the proposed property line that is crossing over into the wetlands common area. So I'm also hoping that the applicant can address that, because according to the original map in the PUD, there's nothing in this area that should be subdivided. It's strictly open space. And please, board, feel free to interject, correct me if I'm wrong. But those are just some of the concerns that I'm seeing as of their latest submittal that I believe can be addressed. So that's all I have so far.
Thank you. Ayanna, you're right. This is a complicated and historically interesting development site.
Yeah.
But in terms of one of your last comments there, you indicated that this entire location is deemed open space in the original PUD. Is that what you just said?
According to the PUD map, that's what I'm seeing, particularly with the focus on the area that is south of the wetland buffer.
Okay.
And I can provide a copy of that or the code section if you need it to see that map of the original PUD map.
So I'm not sure that we need to see that right now, but I will say that the original, from what I understand, that original PUD, this whole area up here, and then the areas extending outside of the proposed site, were all deemed for future development. So it seemed like there wasn't necessarily, one designation versus the other than what was originally identified as some conservation easements. Is that relatively accurate, or?
I would say so, yes.
So this, and we can probably ask the applicant to come up and talk about some of this, but I do have some concerns relating to the conservation easements, the original approval, density allotted to this area, in terms of some verbiage in the original staff report. It just really seemed like there wasn't anything really substantive or detailed as it relates to this portion of the site. I know there's been efforts after the original approval to develop portions, but I do have some questions there, so I'm hopeful that there's some answers sitting in that front row there. And while I know that staff has gone back and forth in terms of the density calculations and those sort of things, not to downplay any of those efforts, because I certainly appreciate it, I still have some question marks in my head about it, so. Anything else for staff from the committee? No. Have we received all review or comments, Ayana? Are we missing any? I lost the page here. Let's see.
I am so sorry. I would have to check EnerGov to see what the latest information is. I think we might have a pending technical from environmental, but don't quote me on that.
It looks like, well, according to the table here on page 4 of the staff report, it looks like we have received environmental, unless there's been a resubmittal and we needed additional comments, but it does look like we have them in, so that's good. Okay, thank you. We'll hear from the applicant.
Morning. David Campbell with Civil Engineering. I'm representing Rose Star.
Good morning.
Morning.
So, how about you walk us through a little bit of the history of this site? Maybe give us a little brief timeline or understanding from the owners, your perspective. I know I don't need a bunch of detail, but just a general sense of what you guys understand here.
Okay. And it may be better that the developer give you the history.
Okay. Yeah, however that works, that's fine.
Don't mind. I mean, I'm not the engineer of record on the previous projects.
Sure,
So
sure, I understand.
I was brought in. So apparently this was approved it was a PUD that was incorporated into the Land Development Code.
Sure.
So it's codified.
Right.
So there's an associated density with that.
Is that figure, that 374 figure from the
Yes.
original
Yes.
PUD, is that
Yes.
codified?
That it is. It's
Okay.
codified.
Okay.
So this project came in for approval for a second phase back in 2013-ish, 2013. And the county was going to approve the project for 100 units or thereabouts. But part of that development, the Corps of Engineers denied their request to shift some areas out of permitted conservation. So it killed the project. So there's 100 units or so sitting on the table right now.
Sure. So there's what, 264 on site currently? In the entirety of the PUD? Okay. So out of that, so there's 110, potentially 110 units
That's
available?
correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So with this development, we started with simply 4 lots on uplands, in the upland areas. After some review, we determined that the coastal hazard zone line was running through one of our lots. So it was going to make that lot very difficult to develop. So we pulled back to 3 lots. So everything that you see here are 3 single-family lots on upland. Everything else is being required to be put into conservation by your code. So the 25-foot wetland, secondary wetland impact buffer, as well as the wetlands, will be in common area.
So it's in common area, but is it encumbered by a conservation easement, or is that?
A portion of the property is encumbered by a conservation easement. which is south of our retention pond. It's not in the developed area. We're not developing anywhere near any conservation easement that's been established. Everything here is on uplands, not in a conservation easement. And it's clearly shown on the surveys and my site plan. So I'm not understanding the confusion here.
So, well, I'm just looking at the information in front of me. So this particular instrument, and maybe this is dated, but it shows wetlands here, but it doesn't show the extension of that conservation easement. So I'm trying to figure out.
It's not there. There's
It's
no
not there.
conservation easement
Okay.
on that portion.
I see.
Showing I looked at some of these easements yesterday. They're recorded as being given to DEP. The conservation easement number 6 on what you're looking at for exhibit number 4, that is the lines that's recorded with DEP.
Okay. Thank you. No, so just to speak to the question about confusion, it's, aside from the fact that, you know, from an outside perspective, this whole situation is just confusing in many ways. I just want to make sure that there is in fact density that is available here, and I understand the idea that if in fact, and I would like to see that ordinance, if that enshrined the available density is 374 on this entire PUD, then that is, there's no question mark there, right? So I've not reviewed the ordinance, so I just want to make sure that that is the case. The history here in our record is just super convoluted, right? We've gone through many iterations, at least 3 different names, so it's just, right, we're at this point now where we're attempting to develop something that is, if not sensitive itself, certainly adjacent to very sensitive lands. So there's just, you know, concerns that we need to work through, right? But what else do you have? Any other introduction piece?
There was comment about sheet 4. That's an old utility drawing that was included in the plans, which showed the original or our original submittal that had 4 lots, and the lot lines went all the way down to the water's edge. You know, of course, that's the way we would have preferred it, but not allowed by code, apparently.
Yeah.
And the idea here of this development was to make as little impact in that area as possible. I mean, it's a beautiful area. It's on the water. Beautiful needle rush marsh, coastal view. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So the idea was to come in here, carve out 3 lots, and make as little environmental impact as possible.
Sure.
But
no, I think you've achieved that
yeah,
in the
yeah.
site plan. I'm certainly not arguing that fact. I think you've done well in the layout. For the most part, it seems like you are staying out of those sensitive areas. So we certainly appreciate that effort. So part of my question here, and again, it relies on the density, right? And that original approval relied heavily on density bonus points, right? So which isn't even necessarily part of the code anymore in many respects, but obviously it's entangled in the PUD, so we're going to honor that. But I want to make sure that those requirements, and specifically the ones indicated in the final order, have been successfully addressed, right? So there's 5 or 6 different points in there that, you know, speak to X number of conservation easements or X number of acres of conservation easement. You know, those sort of things. So when we start talking about additional density that appears to be all embedded in the bonus program, we have a responsibility to ensure those other conditions have been met for any density. And again, I'm not arguing that there's not density here, but in terms of the PUD and compliance with it, we just need to make sure that we're checking all those boxes, right? So that's where.
What can we do to overcome this fog, I guess? All right.
So again, I think we probably need to look at the ordinance in some capacity. We probably need to ensure that the correct amount of conservation easements have been obtained and or, you know, are encumbering the PUD. I think there's some other little considerations in that FO to make sure that we're addressing.
But was the last survey that you uploaded showed all the easements, correct? Okay.
Is it this, so there's a total of 19.8 acres of easement on this site currently. Is that accurate, or is there more?
I can't verify the exact number. I don't have it in
Okay.
front of me, but
Close?
According to what we received, it is a total of 19.80 acres of conservation easement areas.
Okay, so 19.8 total CR or conservation easements, right? So as part of some of the history, it looks like there was some portion allotted to, so, and maybe you can explain this to me, because it seems like in reading what I have read about this, that greenway and conservation are used interchangeably. Or wetlands, greenway and conservation seems to be overlapping. So I just want to make sure that that's my understanding. Is that an accurate statement to make, that those were treated interchangeably, that wetlands speak to conservation areas and both of those speak to greenway, or is there a differentiation made
there's no
historically?
differentiation.
Okay, so wetlands on site are considered greenway or were considered greenway as part of the original PUD, right? Okay. And again, forgive my confusion. There's really not, you know, anything that I've found that connects those dots. So I just wanted to hear that on the record. So moving back to the wetlands and the conservation. So there was some indication in terms of the record that there was 3.11 acres dedicated off-site. Is that accurate, abutting some greenway somewhere else in the county, or the Devil's Swamp or something like that? What is that situation? It may have been. It didn't seem like it was tied directly to the mitigation, so I just wanted to make sure that there was like a stipulation in the original PUD. It seemed like that there was some ability for the developer, the owner, to provide some of that greenway off-site and still retain those bonus points. So I just want to make sure that did occur based on what's required of the PUD. Okay. Okay. And that may be where I saw it, yeah. Again, there's so much documentation.
Uploaded a density back.
Okay, is that in our packet, Ayanna? Did you include that in there?
That was a part of the packet for the last TRC meeting
Oh.
this project was heard at.
Okay. Sir, for the record, I'm
Development orders contains the PED.
You might want to come up here.
yeah, we got to have you on the record, but if you have that now, do you think you could give that to the clerk? Do you have more than one copy?
I do. No, I do not. What I can, yeah, do that one more.
I guess it's already on the record. We have it, it was submitted last time?
Yes.
Okay.
Over a
Or
month ago,
it's submitted in InterGov. Can I just take a look at that?
Yeah,
That'd be great. I appreciate it.
Overlay district, public health orders.
Okay. Okay, so, well, let me ask, I don't want everybody to sit here waiting on me to read all this, but does anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns for the applicant? Are you through with your presentation, sir?
If you don't mind if I interject, I've got a copy of that ordinance, and while I'm definitely not the subject matter expert on this project, Ayan and I were looking at it a couple of nights ago, and in looking at some of the information that the applicant has provided since the staff report was released, the overlay ordinance, if I might present this to you, shows the wetlands. It appears to be in line with the wetlands depicted on the site plan.
Okay.
And it labels them as open space. I think that the site plan for this project, while it has been removed from being on private lots, it is now common area, and it is designated as wetlands. I think it also needs to just have another label as open space so that it does match the PUD ordinance map. May I bring that to you?
Please. I have it here too, but it's not in color, so it's hard to see. Yeah.
And you'll see this is the
Yep.
area.
Perfect.
Another thing that the applicant uploaded, and I haven't studied these, there's two different copies of it. It looks just in glance that they're the same. It does show the conservation easements. And we did find, it's like a 56-page document where the conservation easements are recorded. So I do feel confident that that has been accomplished.
Okay. And that's still a total of that 19.8 acres, right? Okay.
And I think this and this.
Yep, looks like it.
While I can't answer questions related to density, I do feel confident that the conservation easements were recorded, which was part of the requirements. And that was also, there was a greenway that was required, and that's how they got some of the bonus density points, the majority of the bonus density points. And I think that the conservation easement does protect that greenway. And then there were some bonus density points awarded for protection of the wetlands. And it does appear that they've done that with at least I feel more confident that it's been done, since now they are under the unified control, which will be maintained by the homeowners association as opposed to being on private lots.
Okay. Okay. Anything else, Kelly?
That's all that I have to offer. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
I'm good with that. Thank you.
Is there anyone in the public wishing to make any question or have any questions, comments, concerns of a technical nature?
Good morning, Melissa Ward, Certified Planner with Dunlap and Shipman, representing the estuary.
Good morning.
Sorry. In particular, a little bit of history. In the last application, when the other apartments were proposed, the estuary had communication with the developer about protection of the eastern boundary of this property for environmental purposes. So to that extent, for the same purposes, I am here to, again, object to any development that is along the eastern boundary of that flows along the bayou. That is a very sensitive area as a nursery for the habitat that is there. So we are, in particular, very concerned about it. In addition to that, we have questions, and I'll relate to that in this term, just speaking directly to the previous application and this one. The previous application was a major development order that was an amendment to the original PUD for the future development. And what I'm referring to in particular is in the previous 2009 approval, which was the PUD concept approval, it very specifically states in the staff report that was approved by the Board of County Commissioners that the request for the application was 261 multifamily units, 7,700 square feet of neighborhood serving commercial, and it gave you this information, and it specifically said on the last line of that request, the project will encompass 46.8 acres, with phase 1 being 32 acres and 14 acres being designated as future development. I have that site plan. What we are here to say that is, unless they have gone back to the BCC to get an approval under this PUD for that future development, they have an approval for 261 units. That is 256, that is the density calculated for phase 1, and 5 units that they took from phase 2 future development, as stated in this staff report. So
Where is the second approval for any future density that would allow them to do anything on this other property? Where is the future development approval for phase 2 of this future development? This cannot possibly be it because it is a minor development order, and to amend that PUD to increase the density and to, more importantly, adjust that density under that conceptual plan requires a BCC hearing. It was not approved in the original because under the code 2.06.00 of PUD development standards, in order to get the plan approved, you had to show the general location of the uses. It's all hatched out. You had to show the general description of the uses, general circulation plan. Again, it's all hatched out. There's no roadway. We don't know where they're going. And the location of the buffers and associated wetlands and habitat, parking spaces. Sorry. May I continue?
Wrap it up, please.
Certainly. What I will do, if you like, is I have a copy of the PUD requirements. I think you already have them in your codes. I'm sure you have them. But these are just the standards I'm referring to.
You're talking about section 206?
Yes, sir. I do not, the estuary is not opposing development, and they are not opposing the right for them to use their property. They are simply suggesting that they do not have the approval to move forward with this development as a minor. It should be a major, and that they object to any development that's along the estuary.
So this current layout appears to be in keeping with that idea that they're not impacting those sensitive lands adjacent to the bayou. It looks like there is a 50-foot buffer against the bay. So I think they're adhering to that particular component of your concerns.
It was a specific communication with Mr. Shipman in terms of them not developing anything on that eastern boundary. It's specific, that's what they were proposing in the PUD that got withdrawn, in the major development order that got withdrawn. It was they were going to leave this entirely alone, and they were not going to touch it. So this was concerning. And again, the last set of site plans that I did see, unfortunately, was the 4 lots. I know it's reduced down to 3, but that is any development on that little bit of upland outside of that will impact those, and we still object to it.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hey, good morning. My name is Chris Sennett. I'm a property owner on Bay Magnolia Lane at the very end of the proposed project. As you've heard, there's been a lot of confusion, a lot of improprieties, and I can attest to that. I mean, some of the land that was put into a conservation easement was actually acquired on a piece of property they didn't even own. So that added to the confusion, to the messes that were created later on. A portion of also the construction of Phase 1 actually took place on a deeded access for ingress and egress. So all the things that were approved initially on Phase 1 ended up creating a huge mess for the residents that had to go back and litigate and reobtain this egress and ingress, and also the conservation. So I think before we give the green light to this project, I think it'd be important to verify they have a true accounting of all the density bonus points that are still missing and that are floating out there. Nobody seems to be able to make sense of that. My second concern, and I don't understand why, but the applicant is bound and determined to link the neighborhood that we currently have of Bay Magnolia Lane and Cedar with Phase 1 of the apartments. And you have to understand, for one thing, Phase 1 had to build up substantially, and there's a retention wall right there, probably 7-8 feet high. The only way to put an access road that would link the proposed 4 lots to Phase 1 would require the building of a road going to a possible gate. Well, the road would be on an incline. That means a lot of the waters would be rushing down, further compounding the issues that we've had with flooding, and also taking away a lot of the vegetation buffers that are there. There's a simple solution to that. There's already a 66-foot easement that's there recorded for the purpose of residents traveling in and out, and also for emergency vehicles to come through. Lot number 1 that you have right there has already been determined that it's probably not a building lot. It would be a very cost-effective way to put a turnaround for emergency vehicles at the very end there of the roadway at lot number 1. I don't see why we have to build a road that would change the topography of the land, create more flooding issues in the future. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, and not a cost-effective way to do business. So I would request that we pause and take a look at both those issues carefully before we proceed with the project. I thank you very much for your time. I hope you have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Hal Laird. Live in Magnolia subdivision. I was here last time, and we had met. So you're saying there is, the gist of what I felt you put on the record, that moving forward, or if anything else goes forward, there's some I's that need to be dotted, T's need to be crossed. Is that a fair assessment to say in the terms of density moving forward? If there is something to move forward?
I mean,
I just want to be clear.
Just for clarity, I have questions.
Oh.
Right? That some of them appear to have been addressed thus far, but we'll just proceed with your comments and
then,
we'll see.
Then I found, going back to what I've been screaming about, density requirements, things of that nature, and land use. In the revised March 2010 code, because it went through, I think this was the code we'd be working off of right here, 2009, 2010, somewhere in there.
At the time of approval?
Yes, sir.
Original approval?
Yeah, and
More than likely.
Was this ever submitted for, at the time of submittal, you're the developer, was this submitted for the term affordable housing at the time? To your knowledge? I didn't know if that was kind of the thought or the sale of, not sell like individual units, but we're gonna propose to build this because there needs to be more affordable housing per se. Okay, just making sure. But anyways, it doesn't allow bonus density points in RP, and I think there's about 6 to 8 acres of RP on that. So when you go back and look, there may be something to look into. And I wanted to give this to, who would I give this to? Y'all?
What is that?
This is the entryway, the way it looks existing today, going into the site.
Yeah, you could give that to the clerk.
Okay.
If there's enough, you could pass them around.
Y'all need that? I mean, time runs out, just so y'all can look at that. And the reason I'm handing that out is because on their last, what was phase 3, and as he said, they were going to be not going to, what was your words? Light impact. When they proposed to bring 28,000 cubic yards of fill to fill 2 acres of wetland, that was their light impact. Anyways, they've moved on from that to these 3 lots here. This is unrecorded subdivision. So I feel like they have the density, but the connectivity, I don't understand the connectivity, because here's my hypothesis, this is me assuming, nobody's told me anything, but they've tried to do 2 or 3 things here with multifamily apartments. Their big hurdle was, couldn't move the conservation easement, they didn't have connectivity. Sammy Sanchez, fire department say they had to make connectivity. If I was building a house on this lot of record, I wouldn't have to have connectivity. They already got the lots up for sale. You can look on Zillow, they're for sale right now. So they're using that money to, can I finish the last statement?
Yeah.
I feel like they're using that to get y'all to say, hey, get this, fire needs fire life safety. They connect the road, they get what they want, they come back in the future and they build apartments because they've already checked that off their box. There's profit and confusion, and that's why it's so confusing. We just don't want it to connect. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Can I address that, please?
Yeah, let's see if there's anyone else, and then I'll give you time to address all those comments at the end. Is there anyone else? All right, perfect. Thank you.
There is no connectivity to those apartments. We absolutely removed that. We had it on there to begin with simply for life safety issues, so it's a 60-foot wide easement. You can't fit a cul-de-sac in a 60-foot wide easement.
Nope.
It takes 100 feet.
It does.
So Well, all we were doing was connecting with a gravel road with a gate that was activated either by emergency vehicle lighting or other emergency vehicle signal that would raise that gate. That's fairly common. So we have since removed that. We determined that we did not want to develop the southernmost lot, so we removed that. We're not even extending the road all the way down there. We're ending the road right at the 3 lots that we propose, and we're providing a turnaround that's sufficient for a fire vehicle. So we've never had any intent to make that connection.
So, and forgive me, so the site will be accessed, it's just this, I mean, this site plan is just super busy, so I'm having trouble really understanding how the site will be accessed, how these 3 lots will be accessed.
There are 4 lots, there are 4 or 5 existing homes that are accessed through Bay Magnolia. And we're gonna use that access road.
And there's an easement that provides for that?
There's an
access?
easement that provides for that. As a matter of fact, Rose Star provided that easement, and there is a settlement agreement between all the lot owners there, that there was, everyone that accesses, has access through that easement will be responsible for any upgrades to that roadway. And there's like I said, there's about 4 or 5 existing lots that use that access easement, and then we're proposing 3 additional. So those 7 lots will all be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep or any improvements to that easement.
Will that be made through some sort of HOA or covenant or something?
That will be that should be incorporated into our association documents by reference.
So the idea is to incorporate these 3 into or with the other 4 to form an HOA?
No, no.
No existing HOA. That was only a settlement in 2017. We had a big trail road our property. Clearly identified prescribed. We went to mediation with homeowners, dedicated a 66-foot wide easement.
I see.
In return, there's language in there. Improvement.
Okay, thank you. Anything else that you wanted to add?
I'm good.
No. Okay. So I do have what I believe is a complete version of the ordinance here. There does not appear to be any reference specifically to the available density.
There is a staff report that is associated with that ordinance. I can print out a copy if you need.
Let's just make sure, does the ordinance call out as an exhibit the staff report somewhere?
Also in the final development order, it makes reference to 3.
Okay, we're not gonna talk from the audience. Please, anybody wishing to say anything, please come up. That's how we have to do things.
I was looking through and then I saw you're on the third screen. And I was like, oh, picture. Now you're on the third screen.
What's that? The easement? Right away utility easement? I'm not seeing 66-foot one. Yeah, So is the 66-foot wide easement that you were just discussing, is that the utility right-of-way easement? Is that one and the same? That's the same?
It's addressed in our private settlement agreement where that easement can be moved or modified per our overlay district.
I see.
Have you turned in a copy of that settlement agreement? Because I think we
County like
need
to
to make
review
sure
a
that,
private settlement agreement? I mean,
if it affects the rights to this property of where a road is gonna go, I think it would definitely have some bearing on this.
I'm sorry, will you put your name on the record for the clerk, please, when you're done handing that out? Thank you.
Ms. Davis, I have this copy. This is actually the exhibit and a copy of the exhibit that was turned in at the BCC when they did the original PUD. It includes the ordinance and the exhibits, and it includes the site plan that he was asking about. Do you want me to give this to the clerk?
I would say just give it to the clerk at this point.
Okay.
well, I'm a little confused to why we're questioning this, because this has been codified, this has been put into our development order. This is in the LDC as an overlay district.
Yes.
So, I mean, if we are gonna question this, maybe we should get a legal opinion from, Ms. Davis and
Yeah.
our attorney. Because,
I think
mean-
that's probably where we need to be. And look, I'm not, believe me, I'm not suggesting that there isn't available density out here in some capacity. I just want to make sure that we're all approaching it in the best way that we can, adhering to the current code, what was in effect at the time, the PUD, all the things that we need to be aware of. And I, believe me, I'm sitting here, you know, with this protracted conversation about 3 lots, and it's
Sure.
driving me crazy because
Well, I mean, at the time, I mean, we were proud of our efforts. I mean, to put 19-plus acres in the conservation easement. We did
Right.
a very expensive public boardwalk that goes through our property. These
Yep.
were all requirements for the bonus point system that you had at that time.
Sure. And it's clear that you did many of those efforts, right?
So, I mean, it's a bit frustrating,
I believe me.
15 years later, and
I understand. I fully accept that frustration, and forgive me. I just want to make sure that we're moving forward in the most responsible way that we can. Of course, understanding your frustration.
Sure.
Mr. Chair, I do want to add to the record that we do have a copy in our files of the evidence that Melissa Ward was alluding to in the original Walton Apartments PUD, approved by Board of County Commissioners on August 11th, 2009.
Thank you.
Hope, I'm less concerned of necessarily the terms of your settlement agreement, but the actual easement that this references that would be recorded. That's what I want to make sure that we can find and we have reference to, because I do see in thumbing through this settlement agreement that it does allow for the right to relocate the easement area as long as it doesn't infringe on the rights of, I guess, the plaintiffs at this point.
Correct.
In the agreement. So, but I do want to make sure that those things were translated into the actual easement that was recorded.
Are
So
you
that's
referring to
what
it-
my main concern
Is there not an exhit attached to that?
I just wasn't going to hold on to your settlement agreement. I think that's probably something that, while I appreciate the opportunity to review it, as long as we have the actual easement that was recorded, I think.
That to you.
Yeah. So if you'd like this back.
So, I will say that some comments made have given me a little bit of pause, specifically as it relates to Ms. Ward's comments about the fact that this was approved as future development with potentially that difference, right? What I said was 110, give or take, units, right? So, and respectfully, I think getting your legal folks and our legal folks in a room to get to the very bottom of this issue, I would really appreciate that.
Well, I think a lot of confusion has to do with 2 years ago, we had proposed 100 multifamily units back there that were
Right.
very contentious.
Yeah, understood.
We had a conservation easement going through that property. We actually went to the Corps, which our agreement said we could modify or exchange, to give them this point in exchange for uplands.
That internal one?
Right.
internal
We thought
portion?
it was a great deal at a time.
Yeah.
And after 3 years of effort, the Corps came back and denied us. We dropped our project.
Wow, okay.
So there's probably, I don't know if it's still an active file, we dropped it. So we ended up with this waterfront property. There's nothing we could have done with it with the apartments.
Sure, I
There's
understand.
no connection to the apartments whatsoever. So,
To the
I mean, our
existing
group
apartments.
thought the best and the highest use, less intrusive use, was to turn it into residential lots.
Understood.
We're
rightly
leaving
so.
the road as is. We do like the organic state of the neighborhood. We're willing to do some improvements on the road,
Okay,
but it's really a very simple 3-lot request, nothing more.
right. And I understand. And again, just,
And to address the environmental nature, anything within there is no conservation easement that goes to the point. There are wetlands.
yeah,
We plan to adhere to the rules of the wetlands. We're not going back there to chop down trees.
sure.
We're only building on the uplands portion of it.
Understood. I appreciate it. Yeah, if you have something to say, yeah.
Mr. Pope, I just want to make sure, since, it sounds like that we're offering up myself on a silver platter to speak to your legal folks. So I think the real concern at this point would boil down to this. What it seems from the cursory review, I've been thrown into this for about 2 days. So I don't have extensive history yet. I have a cursory review, is what I can tell you. So what my understanding is, the density, and it sounds kind of similar to what Ms. Ward was presenting a moment ago. The density that would have been entitled to this property was used as part of the apartments. So whatever density that you would be drawing from would be based on the density that came out of the density bonus points program. And so what we're trying to ensure is all of the mechanisms there, because it does appear different in the density bonus point system of there's different call outs for wetlands versus greenway corridor. And I have seen, I feel a little more confident than where we were a couple days ago as far as the greenway corridor with the conservation easements. So, but making sure that the total acreage with this development going in, that the total acreage is still adhered to as far as the density bonus points program, so that we're not cutting into those numbers of what the acreage was required. So therefore, we would be violating what the density bonus points program gave you in order to get these 3 density units.
Well,
So-
to save you time, I mean, we went through this exercise with Mr. Barante when we presented the last project.
I'm not doubting the calculations of the numbers of what the density points are, but I think that's where Mr. Schoen has been focused on, was not necessarily the numbers of what the points are and what density is available. It's just making sure that the acreage is correct for those bonus point availabilities.
Okay.
So like I said, we did, I had some time yesterday afternoon to see, excuse me, the set of documents where the conservation easements were filed with DEP. But the last of the site plan, as Mr. Schoen alluded, the last of the site plan still had a few lines and things that gave some lack of clarity and where things are drawn on the site. So I think with the reconfigurations, I think it's probably most beneficial to take a few minutes and we go over it at
So
a
it sounds
later
like
time than
we're
right
not
now.
questioning how I got the bonus points. I mean, we're not discussing that. We're now going into compliance to make sure that all of it's in place.
That's the bulk of my question and concern is that aspect, and then to ensure that what we're doing is treating the PUD right, correctly in terms of the density and the fact that the original PUD was approved simply as future development. So I want to make sure that we're moving forward with that aspect correctly.
Okay.
Again, I'm not questioning the density. I think that based on previous exercises, that it's there. It's just a matter of making sure that we give it to you correctly and that we accept it.
Okay.
Right?
Well,
So-
again, all this has been codified. I mean,
Sure.
So, I mean, you have the entire density history from development order to extension to PUD to overlay district. Like I said, we're in the LDC as a Walton County apartment.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what more we could have done.
No, so I'm looking, and believe me, if I looked at this ordinance and it was black and white, 374 2 units, I would say that there's no question in my mind. But because that figure's not explicitly in this ordinance, that's just partly what's giving me pause. So I want to make sure that we're doing this again the right way. So it would be really beneficial for me. And I hate to put you out because I know you've been dealing with this, like you said, for 15 some odd years. But if we can get together offline and work through this and address my ignorance in the matter, it would be really great for
Well,
me.
if we can work through this along with the real project technical issues, if there are any, I would like to do one final swoop. And
Absolutely. So with that in mind, I would hope that we could get the technical stuff sorted out and then my question mark sorted out in one sort of, legal meeting or however we want to frame that. And then bring this back for just one last bite at the apple. Do you think we could do all this before the 20th? I personally, I don't think we can. But I also,
Well, I mean, we're still looking to do an opinion, a legal opinion on the density from county and our attorney.
I think we should. Yeah, that would be beneficial for me. Do you think that we can push this to the 4th without much concern, and then we
As
can
long
get
as
that
we can put
sorted?
all the other issues in there.
I think we should. Yeah, I think that's the way we should move.
Right.
Let's shoot for that we'll continue this to the 4th. We'll sit down in that interim. We'll get through everything, answer the questions, and I think we'll be better on the other side of that. All right?
Okay.
All right. I appreciate your patience, sir. I truly do. Again, I know how long you've been working on this. So I also appreciate the patience of the folks in the audience that have a stake in this. We're going to go ahead and meet offline and put smarter folks in the room than I am to sort this out for me. So we'll see this again on the the June 4th?
Mr. Chair, it's actually June 3rd.
June 3rd.
For
Okay.
the record,
But we
unless something has
continued-
changed.
We continued some others to a different date, I believe.
And that should be also June 3rd for those other items.
We'll address that at the end of the meeting. But could I have a motion, please, to continue this to June 3rd?
Motion, as said, to continue.
Thank you. A second? All in favor? All right. Thank you, all. Please. All right. Thank you all for your patience in the audience. I know that kind of wound us up here. We're going to move to item number 17, Emerald Coast Endoscopy Center.
I think I was the one that threw out that 4th date, which was incorrect.
Tim.
That's the DRB, June 4th.
All right. Well, we'll approach those corrections at the end of the meeting. Maybe the clerk or staff can figure out which items we did continue to that incorrect date, and we'll address it at the end.
Alrighty, number 17. This is a minor development or application submitted by KHA Civil Engineers requesting approval to develop an existing commercial building to add an additional 7,123 square feet of building space to the existing site for a total of 15,223 square feet on 3.46 acres with the future land use of mixed use and a zoning of village mixed use. Property is located in District 4 at 200 Mac Bayou Road. It's the old All-In Credit Union building. So they're proposing to renovate it into a doctor's office and surgery center. So there's quite a number of planning comments, but we only have one engineering comment and one traffic comment. And then we do not have any fire comments yet, but I believe that's the only thing we're missing at this time. Most of my comments are relatively minor, except for the identifying where they got 8.5 parking spaces per bed for the surgery center, because that's not a county parking standard. You know, it may be from the ITE, which is acceptable, but I made the comment because I don't know where it came from. So with that, I'd like to enter the staff report into the record, please.
So entered, and if you would, just explain for folks in the public that may not understand why we didn't have an environmental review on the site?
Yeah, because the environmental area of the site is to the east, which they're not impacting. They're only impacting the current development area.
Which has been previously impacted.
Yes,
Yep.
they are moving some things around. They're moving the dumpster to a new location. They're moving the generator to a new location, but they're not affecting any of the east side of the property, which is the environmentally sensitive area. So that's why I didn't have a floodplain or a environmental review. They're not impacting that area.
Is this outside the 98 corridor?
Yes, it's beyond the 400 feet.
Okay. All right. You do have quite a few comments.
Yeah, there was quite a, and I think that's a function of more than anything, them being from out of town and not, used to our reviews. But they are fairly minor in nature. They're just the kinds of things I look at in every project I review.
All right. Any questions, comments, concerns for staff? No? All right. Thank you. We'll hear from the applicant.
Hey, good morning. I'm Corey Snyder with KHA Civil Engineers. We're the civil designers for this project. As Tim summarized, it was the existing bank business, and now it's being redesigned to service as doctor's office and outpatient center. The comments we received, like he said, they're very minor. We're working on updating the plans. It's more just checking some boxes. The parking situation, I know that there was a letter approved about a year ago regarding our parking calculations. So what I'll do is I'll just make sure to go back to our traffic impact analysis and make sure it matches up. I do know that the total number of spots required does match that letter, and we're providing one additional, but that shouldn't be an issue.
Is that something the previous director issued you, or what is the nature of the letter?
I believe it was between Tim and my coworker, Nick King. They had a discussion about how they were going to treat parking for that kind of business.
Did it relate to utilizing the ITE manual or something along those lines where we would?
Yes, and
Okay.
then I did reference the IT manual that we were using for our traffic impact analysis, but again, if it's not clear, I'll make sure to go back and double check all of that.
Okay, very good. All right, what else? Anything?
That's about it on our end. I mean, comments were very straightforward, so we have no issue with that.
Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone in the audience wishing to make any technical questions, comments, or concerns, please come up. All right. Tim, what's your recommended motion?
Yeah, I don't expect that there's really going to be any comments from fire because they really haven't changed the internal circulation of the site. So my recommendation would be to move it to the director to issue the development order once all outstanding comments have been resolved.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Anything from the committee? All right, we have a motion.
Motion for the conditional approval, so,
Okay,
as stated.
second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. This application will be conditionally approved to move forward pending successful address of all outstanding comments. That brings us to item number 18, the Commodore's Retreat Pool Improvements.
This request to approve by development order, project number MIN 26-000013. This is a minor development order application submitted by Emerald Coast Associates Engineering, LLC, on behalf of Commodore's Retreat Owners Association, requesting to improve pool and amenities on 1.83 acres with a future land use of residential and a zoning category of neighborhood infill. The property is located in District 5 at the address and parcel ID numbers in the staff report. The comments I have for this one, we have engineering review comments, a floodplain, and planning comments. And the biggest comment I have is the pool is in the side setback. And with missing dimensions, it looks like they propose to move it in the setbacks even more, so closer to that east property line. They did do a pre-application meeting for a variance for the pool. I did it yesterday. Best case scenario, they would go to the June 25th ZBA. But they haven't submitted yet, but again, the pre-app was done yesterday. And that is my biggest comment. All my other comments are pretty surface level. And then that's it. Do you have any questions for me?
Any
Can
questions?
I enter the staff report into the record?
Yes.
Thank you.
So entered, thank you. Any questions for staff? How close is the proposed, I just can't read it.
The proposed pool doesn't have a dimension. And that's part of the issues. I scaled it and it's in the 7.5 foot by scaling it setback. And then because they are the same, scaled the same, I was able to see that the pool looks like it's getting scooched towards the property line even closer. But again, both those dimensions aren't there, so that's eyeballing it.
Okay. And is the decking, is this a raised pool? Is my memory playing tricks on me here?
I don't believe it is raised. Okay, it's a raised pool.
Okay.
And the decking is already existing, at least for the most part. And they're also adding a spa south of that. That one doesn't appear to be in the setbacks, but it does increase.
Okay.
There's a little bit of increased impervious surface with the walkway, and I'm sure the applicant can speak a little more to that.
Okay, thank you. We'll hear
Thank you.
from the applicant.
Good afternoon. Dean Purchase with Emerald Coast Associates, ECAE LLC. We are the engineer of record on the project. I agree with Bridget's summary. The largest comments that we have are regarding the pool's setbacks. It's an existing pool in a non-conforming use. This, I don't believe, the development order for this particular project predates the land development code. So what we're asking for in the variance is just to keep the pool setbacks as they were in current day condition. The pool has to be taken out and replaced. It's got leaks and cracks, and it just can't be salvaged as is.
Okay.
We had a brief discussion on this, and we decided to file for the variance.
Okay.
So assuming that variance goes favorably, I think our largest comment gets put aside. If it doesn't, then we would have to retool and find out if they put up with chasing leaks and cracks and so forth in their pool, or if they settle for a smaller pool. But it would significantly reduce the size of the pool over what they have right now.
Okay.
The remainder of the comments are, easily responded to. All of the new structures that are being proposed, as Bridget had said, the spa, our little grilling area that they're doing meet all, the required setbacks.
Okay. Looks like fire isn't quite satisfied. Is there something No, okay. Maybe that's just.
Fire was just mismarked
Oh, okay.
for the record.
Very good. I was curious what they were worried about.
So are we awaiting fire's review? Okay.
Yeah, it looks like looks like they're good.
Right. So we do have all the comments. We've got environmental on this, so we would prepare our response, to these comments. And I understand that anything further as far as a determination on whether it's approved or disapproved is going to be subject to the variance.
Yeah.
And that hearing.
Well, I do appreciate your understanding there. I don't think it would be appropriate to conditionally approve based on the variance request approval or denial. I'm getting a little head shake from. And I hate to continue to after the ZBA, but I just don't know how we can decide on it today. But yeah, let's get through ZBA and move it back. When's it scheduled?
The next, after the June 25th ZBA, the next TRC is July 1st.
Okay, then let's continue to a date certain if that's okay with you. Or
Sure, that's
okay.
fine. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and respond to comments and understanding if we get denied at the ZBA, we got to resubmit yet again.
Perfect. All right. Appreciate you.
All right.
All right. Can we have a motion to continue this to the July 1st TRC meeting, please?
A motion to
continue.
to continue
to
to the
July
July 1st meeting.
Yep. Second?
Second.
All in favor? All right. Thank you. We will hear this again on July 1 after the ZBA has made their decision on the variance request. Next is item 19. Is this the second to last or the third?
Third.
Oof. Okay. This is Lot 9, Miller Commerce Park.
Yes, Mr. Chair, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is Lot 9, Miller Commerce Park, a request to approve by development order, project number MIN 26-000023. It's being reviewed by myself. This is a minor development order application submitted by Baker Engineering LLC on behalf of Rogue Property Investments LLC, requesting to develop a 5,833 square foot plus or minus square foot warehouse with office space on 1.63 plus or minus acres with a future land use of industrial and extractive uses and the zoning category of light industrial. The property is located in District 1 at the southwest corner of Nighthawk Drive and can be identified by parcel number in your staff report. Mr. Chair, of this lot, as the title says, is in Miller Commerce Park. There are just a few outstanding comments that I think could be easily addressed. I don't see anything that's really a breaker or a major time delay. May I enter the staff report in the record, please?
So entered.
Do you have any questions for me before I pass it on to the applicant?
I do, just one, your comment number 2, development, and must meet the previous approved development order. Was there anything specific there, or was that just a general sort of, hey?
That
look
was
at-
just a reminder to, I already explained it to Ms. Baker, that's just a reminder to ensure everything is covered.
Got it. Anything else for staff? No? All right, thank you, Bob.
Yeah, turn it over to the applicant, please.
Please do.
Hey, Michelle Baker, Baker Engineers.
Good morning.
This is in Miller Commerce Park, which was just platted last year, so this is the first one you've seen come through as a minor development order. And I did go ahead and put like a table on there showing how much has been developed, and so we can just keep track, because the development order clearly states how much impervious area there can be for the ponds, as well as buildable area for traffic. There was, the traffic was fine. Andrea approved that. There was only one engineering comment really, and that was a typo from Andrea about erosion control, because she just didn't see the sheet. So I think everything's fine. I saw the fire comments. That's just some internal stuff with the building that needs to be added.
Okay. All right, any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone in the public wishing to speak on this? All right, thank you. Bob, what's your recommendation?
Mr. Chair, because of the nature of these comments, I'd like to conditionally approve pending successful resubmittal and then move the development order to the director for approval.
All right, thank you, Bob. We have a recommended motion. Any questions, comments, concerns from the committee? No, sir. All right, can I have a motion, please?
A motion to conditionally approve pending successful resubmittal.
All right, second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. This project is conditionally approved to move forward pending successful address of all outstanding comments. Item number 20, WCSO building.
This is a minor development order application submitted by Darrell Barnhill at the time on behalf of Walton County Sheriff's Office, requesting to develop a 9,300 square foot storage building with required asphalt parking on 19.61 plus or minus acres with a future land use of public facilities and institutional, and a zoning category of public facilities. Property is located in District 2 at 205 Triple G Road and can be identified with the parcel ID in this staff report. There are several things here. As you may or may not have noted, I said Darrell Barnhill at the time of the application. As of yesterday, there has been a new agent. There's been an agent affidavit form that's been submitted to the county and has been put into the application number. Just as an introduction, Mr. John Green is also the applicant, is ultimately what I'm trying to get at. May I enter the staff report into the record?
So entered.
Okay. So as mentioned, this is for the Walton County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff's Department. There are several outstanding items. As you will note, there's a lot of planning comments as well as engineering comments, which as of this morning, I know that the applicant has submitted updated information that has not been reviewed yet. Most of that is heavily engineering comments. And there has also been some conversation of potential scope increase with this said project. I can let the applicant speak more to that.
Okay.
Are there any questions for me at this time?
Any questions for staff? All right, no, thank you.
Good afternoon. John Green, ECM. Complicated project. First hiccup was we, at the civil side, had a 9,300 square foot building, and the sheriff department ordered a 10,880 square foot building. The second item, it's a storage building. It's not an office building. It's purely for storage, vehicle storage, special vehicles that the sheriff department is purchasing. And there's 10 bays. The original design for the site was to treat it like a fire station where you had a wide entrance. It got rejected by Andrea, so we had a discussion with the sheriff's department, and they conceded at this time that we could use two separate driveways, one to drive into the building. All the vehicles would then drive through because it's got bays on both sides, and then come back around on a second driveway. We've redesigned it. We've looked at the elevations and everything, reduced the size of we increased the size of the swales, but we only made them 1 foot deep. All the engineering's been done. All the comments have been addressed on the review from the staff, from planning, and I think we're good to go.
All right.
Just have the review and move forward. Do you have any questions for me?
Let's see, what is the Department of Health concerned with? Okay, so these are just conditions, not,
Yeah, there's not.
The couple conditions that kind of are outstanding is, one, there's a title missing from the survey. There recently was a project approved for putting in some restrooms on the property, which is a couple hundred yards away from this building. They didn't have a title search. Everybody's willing to put the title information on the survey if it's available. So far, from what I can tell, that it never was ordered. So the county does own the 40 acres of property.
Mr. Chair, could I add something that might be helpful in this? The former director waived the benefit of title requirement.
because this is county-owned property?
Correct.
Yep.
We typically do that for the county projects and for the state projects.
Thank you, Bob. There's a lighting issue. There's a huge training facility, parking lot behind the facility. I don't have access to the data and the lighting that's provided over there. And so we're basically just calling out to put some sconces at the pedestrian doors at the two ends of the building. As for the life safety, the fire department asked about it. The building's sprinkled. With the value of the vehicles that are there, it's sprinkled. And so we didn't have a life safety plan. We figured it goes to the building department to get that addressed. I have been in contact to the utility company, and they sent over the 6-inch line that goes on the property. But I have to work with the building engineer to figure out the capacity of pipe that he needs. And then I would have to put some details on the sheet if they so did request the Defuniak Springs Utility Department. I put on some details, but I don't have their details. So, but we'll work through whatever is asked of us to get her back on track.
Sure, I appreciate that. All right, any questions for the applicant? No? All right, thank you.
And we would prefer to be approved to go forward.
Understood. Anyone in the public wishing to make comment on this one? I don't see any. What is your recommended motion?
So there are a lot of documentation that I have yet to set my eyes on, and because of the number of comments on here, it is a bit concerning. However, I do weigh in the fact that this is the this project has been continued, and with the amount of time that the applicant has had to turn around, it sounds like there's an adequate amount of comments that have been addressed. That being said, I think pending all comments have been addressed, I would recommend we conditionally approve. And I will ask you guys, weigh in as well, because the sensitivity of this one in particular.
Sure, I appreciate that, thank you. And I will just say to add some context to this, and not that it's unbeknownst to any of you, but this is specifically for the Walton County Sheriff's Office. There is a public benefit in what's being proposed here. I recognize that. I recognize the need to adhere to the code and make sure our standards are met, but this project will not be approved without full and successful compliance with the code. So I will ask for a motion, unless there are any questions, comments, or concerns from the committee, that we conditionally approve. All right. So I need a motion.
Make a motion to conditionally approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, this project is conditionally approved to move to DO pending successful address of all outstanding comments. And on to our last item, number 21, the USU FWB 32 Mac Bayou Tower application.
Yes, Mr. Chair. This project, as you said, is the USU-FWB 32 Mac Bayou request to approve by development order, project number MIN 25-000137. It's being reviewed by myself. This is a minor development order application submitted by Clark Paddington on behalf of the Muscogee Nation of Florida, requesting to replace a south tower on 0.147 plus or minus acres with a future land use of mixed use and the zoning category coastal center. The property is located in District 4 at 1885 Mac Bayou Road and can be identified by the staff number or parcel number in your staff report. Mr. Chair, you're well aware, we've been back here many times on this. All comments have been addressed. I have some new information to put out. There was a waiver of restricted covenants signed on March 11th, 2025, waiving the covenants by the Board of County Commissioners.
Can I see
Yes.
that, please? Is it in the,
Oh, I'm sorry, 2005.
okay. Is it in the staff report?
No, it was just given to me.
Thank you for clarifying. I was a little confused by.
I'll ask all these to be entered into the record when I do the staff report. And then I have a letter that was provided also from the Florida Department of State stating, paraphrasing, on May 10th, 2005, that an architect or a archaeologist was on site during the dig of the tower, and there was nothing disturbed or found. I will give you this.
Are these, have you placed them in the intergov file?
I will.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, I mean, there's been issues raised, all staff comments have addressed. It meets the comprehensive plan. It meets the land development code. It's been determined that it's been properly advertised, and there's really no reason not to move forward with approval of this. As you know, it has a history of coming here and either being approved before, then move to the Board of County Commissions for discussion, and then move back into your realm. It's my understanding the county attorney has determined that the one sign meets the land development code, and he was okay with the proper notification. I have seen the sign myself. Can I enter the staff report and associated documents into the record, please?
Yes, you can, so entered, and just for the record, I want to make sure that everybody knows that we're moving the waiver of restrictive covenant into the record and the letter from the Florida Department of State, Division of Historical Resources into the record. The letter from the State Department is May 10th, 2005. Waiver of restrictive covenant is dated March of 2005.
Mr. Schoen, to be clear, at my recollection of the basis that, that the motion was made to continue this previously was twofold. It was one, as far as the signage and the advertising, which I believe Mr. Bronte has just addressed. The second basis was some concern of Eglin's comments. And Mr. Bronte, if you can take a minute and make sure that we're clear with that.
Haven't got there yet, but I'll gladly do it. So the comments, you're right, correct. The applicant tried to go over and beyond the land development code policy for recognizing the property owner would not permit the additional signage. The agent has reached out to the county attorney.
I'm sorry, can we make sure which property owner that we're talking about? And
Sandestin. And then reached out, and I believe you also had a conversation, and it was deemed that it met the advertising for the land development code. Also, comments were raised because there was not a true formal response from Eglin. Eglin has definitely responded, and they do not have an issue with this cell tower. It will not affect their mission. That has been loaded in the Intergov. I will load these additional documents in Intergov after the meeting. May I enter the staff report and associated letters into the record, please?
So entered.
And may I turn it over to the agent if you don't have any further questions for me?
Any questions for staff? No. Please, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. We're back again for the fifth time. I counted this morning. I think we've addressed all the outstanding issues. I will say we did attempt to put up, I think, 7 signs, and were run off the property by the Sandestin HOA, which prompted calls, and I think we've resolved that issue to everyone's satisfaction, including Brooke, as I understand it. So we're asking the court, boy, I do this too much. We're asking the board to go ahead and pass it, and we can get the tower replaced. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments for the applicant? No. All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and open this up for any public comment.
Hi, Tabitha Howard. So the Eglin has been addressed. It's now my understanding that Sandestin Investments did not allow the advertising to happen. I did drive around to see, because there was no signage still at Driftwood. The other signage was across the street, and that's why I was thinking it was the 4 Mile Village that was getting something happening over there, because that wasn't even on Sandestin's property. But I just did want to read a couple of things. This happened November the 3rd, 2018. It was during the customary use hearing, and I just find it quite interesting, and I just want this on the record. Miss Ann Tucker, chairman of the Muskogee Nation of Florida, Florida Tribe of Eastern Creek Indians, discussed the importance of customary use to the Muskogee tribe and the generational use of the shores by the tribal nation long before Florida became a state. She reported the current tribal government preserves and protects 4,000 old mounds in South Walton County. Ms. Tucker stated that generations ago, the tribe came to the shores to gather shells for the graves of their deceased members. And what's noted in the deed are the mounds and the burial grounds on that land. I also find this statement interesting. The same day, tribe members were taught to take only what was needed and not everything you want. Ms. Tucker stated the tribe does not support the continued development of investment properties motivated by greed. I just find it quite interesting that Ann Tucker is the one that pushed for this cell tower to be on a burial ground that she used during the customary use and was so proudly that's how she protects. And I just find it rather sick, and I just want that to be on the record. And then also, it is in Sandestin DRI, and I was hoping that it would adhere to the 8909 ordinance. It doesn't look like this project does, but it is in the Sandestin DRI, and it needs to adhere to the 8909 ordinance, in my opinion. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Anyone else? Hi, Bob. Recommended motion.
Make a recommended motion, sorry, it's been a long morning, to conditionally approve pending, to approve and move it to the director for development order approval.
We have a recommended motion. Questions, comments, concerns from the committee? All right. Can I have a motion, please?
This meets the technical, so I make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. This application has been
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
approved to move forward to DO issuance. And that is the end of the agenda. I need a motion to finally end this meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you.